Leaders of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement and the African People's Socialist Movement had their homes violently raided on Friday morning at 5 a.m. with flashbang grenades. Well, the FBI has concluded that these leaders were colluding with Russia to interfere with the 2016 election. The reason that they have concluded this is because Omali and other leaders went to a conference in Russia for an anti-globalization movement. A conference, by the way, that included national leaders from all over the globe. Now, this happened in 2014, by the way. It is 2022. The Russiagate scandal has been done and over with for literally years now. So I want everybody to understand something. This whole let's pretend that every black liberation group and every black leader who wants black people to be liberated from the oppressive systems that they've oftentimes been forced into, and pretending as if they're all colluding with Russia to undermine the US government, like, that's old. That's been happening. They did this to Malcolm X. They did this to the Black Panthers. They've done this to Martin Luther King. When I saw this, I actually thought that this was a headline from 1974, which would have made a lot of sense. But they're still doing it today. Because liberation, especially black liberation, is antithetical to US imperialism. And these systems are only held in place and can only be maintained if people willingly cooperate with their oppressors. And in an age where everybody is growing more enlightened, growing more informed, and growing more frustrated, the last thing the oppressors want is for you to organize and liberate yourselves from their oppression. At least, that's what I think anyway. What is going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream special episode of For the People podcast. And we have an amazing show lined up. And of course, we have some amazing guests lined up. For my first guest, however, y'all know him as Kit Cabello, founding member of Heartlands Media, Chicago pizza advocate, also known as Bread Tomato Soup. He has done some great investigative work. He's been going through some crazy stuff with YouTube, and everybody's been trying to hold that man back, but Kit's still here. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me go ahead and introduce to you guys for I think maybe the second time ever on our channel, Kit Cabello. What's going on, Kit? How you doing, bro?
First of all, Niko, thank you so much for that introduction. Shame on you for saying bread and tomato soup. But also, number 3, congratulations on being a father. Congratulations on your beautiful family. It is so wonderful to be back on your show again, to collaborate, to speak about what I think is the most interesting and hilarious election cycle. Not the most important, with a good friend and somebody who I've known for years. I think you started a little bit before me. I think like 2 years before me, but nonetheless, a lot has changed over the years, but we have both turned out to be factually correct. And the only way to stop us is by putting us 6 feet under, and we're not going anywhere yet. All right. So that's how, that's exactly how it's going to be. So nonetheless, man, thank you for having me on your show.
We've known each other for so long that we were both basically bald, and now we both have long hair past our shoulders. That's that's how long we go back, guys. So we're still waiting right now for Chairman Omali to come in, guys. He's having some technical difficulties. His people are in contact with me right now. But just for you guys to get a background, so I covered this story. That video is from the beginning of August 2022. That's actually how long this particular story has been going on. Not only Chairman Omali, but they're called the Uhuru 3. They're all being prosecuted right now, not in the local courts, not even in federal court. They're being prosecuted by the Department of Justice. They're being accused of plotting against the United States. And at the time, they had their houses ran into. I mean, this man's like almost 80 years old, and him and his wife were sleeping. And they just ran up in their house with guns as if they were about to execute this man. And given the history of police officers and the FBI and black activists, I'm sure he was absolutely scared for his life, and it should have never happened.
Yeah. Well, not only should not have happened, but this is happening under a Biden-Harris administration, a Democrat administration that is going after activists that committed no crime whatsoever, except something that he did in 2014. That's now 10 years old. That's very well irrelevant. This is like chasing shadows. This is like assuming that there's an evil monster under the bed. That's what the United States government is doing. That's what this administration is doing towards the Uhuru movement. All right. Now they have a right for free speech, right to assembly. They have a right to speak out, right to criticize, and right to praise whoever, whatever they want. All right. That is their fundamental right. What they should not go through is being suffered this injustice. Because where is the proof? Okay, they're somehow going to do something to undermine the United States of America. So this activist group, let me get this straight, at least to all the authoritative sources that are out there. You're telling me that this activist group is somehow out of the blue going to undermine and upend the entire United States of America and cause an economic, political catastrophe, the likes of which they'll make January, 6th or 7th, whatever day it is. I'm losing track now. They'll make it pale in comparison. Really? That's what they're doing? Show me the proof.
That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. And what's crazy about it is, so they're trying to prosecute him for a trip that he took in 2014. Now, it's important to remember that the context of all of this, because they ran into his house in 2022. So in between 2014 and 2022, we know Russiagate happened. And people tend to forget that. And Chairman Omali, which I'm sure he'll go into once he comes onto the show, obviously he's not really a fan of Biden. Being a black man and not being a fan of the Democratic Party and having that level of credibility that Chairman Omali does have, that's a little bit problematic. So when they've been making boogeymen out of everybody who's even remotely associated with either peace and or Russia. Literally, Jill Stein was just at a conference and there was a picture taken that she completely forgot about. And it started circulating again. She was like, oh, I forgot that was even taken. I forgot that he was sitting beside me, because the point of the conference, if I'm not mistaken, was like a climate change or environmental conference. So it actually had nothing to do with Russia. It just so happened to be in Russia at that point in time. So when you put it within the context of Russiagate, to me, it almost seems like they got everybody that they were accusing at the time was associated with Trump. So it was time to kind of go ahead and try to lend some credibility to the argument by now going after black activists, because that's what happened.
Well, it's also another sad tale of the fact that the Democrats were able to capitalize and cause fear for black voters to feel like that this is the party of choice that they need to go to. The Democratic Party doesn't care about anyone but themselves. The Democratic Party only cares about maintaining its power. But what we are witnessing here, and this is something that I think you, I, and a lot of other people did predict. We didn't know what year it would take place, but the entire great party of the DNC, the Democratic establishment, is crumbling right before our eyes. And who better than to be leading the absolute destruction of the Democratic Party than none other than Joe, the great segregationist Biden, who was against busing and desegregation, who didn't want his white kids to be with black kids. The same guy who is the architect and designer of, you guessed it, the crime bill. So it is disheartening to see this happen into the Uhuru movement, but justice is on their side. They have the truth, and this administration, it's going to have to come to terms of what it did to these citizens, to these people, so that this never happens again. Now, the thing is, this does set a dangerous precedent, because if you are going to be critical of any administration, be it Democrat, Republican, or independent, does that mean now every single presidential administration is going to go after an activist or organizer or anybody else that decides to say, hey, I don't like how this administration is enacting this domestic or foreign policy? The administration is yet to give a very clear answer, because at this point, this administration is doing damage control because of the mounting health problems that Joe Biden is facing. And now they're in a succession crisis, which is delicious to watch.
Yeah. So This is from the Black Agenda Report. Matter of fact, I'll go ahead and pull it up for you guys so that you can check it out. They did a very good job breaking it down.
And that's a fantastic article. Thank you for sending it to me.
Yeah, Black Agenda Report does amazing work. Everybody knows that by now. If you don't know, now you know. So the indictments of the the indictments of the Uhuru 3 constitute a test case for the U.S. government. If Chairman Yeshitela is convicted in this political attack, free speech as we know it in this country will no longer exist for anyone. So we're really looking at something that could technically be set precedents that is actually worse than what could have been set with Julian Assange. And I make that distinction because as bad, like it isn't good that Julian Assange hasn't been pardoned yet, and it isn't good that he took the plea deal, but it actually does not have as much precedence, negative precedence, as a lot of people have perceived it to be, because basically what they're saying is a foreign journalist can conspire with local federal officials to get documents and publish them. Like that's effectively what that is. But if you're a local journalist from the United States, then that doesn't really count. But in this particular case, you're talking about Black activists from the United States who lived in the United States and are now only being punished because they decided to take a trip somewhere with their American passport and criticize the United States. As one of the attorneys of the Uhuru legal team stated, if the government convicts Chairman Omali Yeshitela, in this case, they will be able to go after any speech by any person at any time. Indictments of the Uhuru 3 followed 22 pre-dawn military FBI raids. In the wake of violent pre-dawn raids on 7 homes and offices of the Uhuru movement by assault rifle toting FBI agents on July 29, 2022, Chairman Yeshitela, Jesse, and I were indicted on false charges the following February 2023. An army of military-attired FBI agents with assault rifles violently raided the home of Chairman Omali Yeshitela and Deputy Chair Ona Zane Yeshitela in North St. Louis, handcuffing both of them. So I want to watch the video because I'm pretty sure that for some reason YouTube will take it down. But it's so that's what they're fighting right now. Actually, I believe. Yeah, so that's what they're fighting right now. That's what they're fighting right now. And I thought that something else had happened since then, but no, nothing else has happened since then. They're literally being prosecuted for a trip they took in 2014 that involved them criticizing the government.
So real quick here, you got a super chat from a person named John McCarthy. Thank you so much. He says, we need to pack the courthouse, get as many people as possible to Tampa. And if you cannot, you need to start sharing the story all over social media, because look, the fate of free speech is on the line here. Okay. And what happened to Julian Assange, first of all, I am glad he's out. I'm glad he's going to be on that long road to recovery. I mean, he's got a way to go. But the thing is, this fight isn't over, because it's bigger than just one person, Julian Assange. This is all of us. And it's happening right here to U.S. citizens for what, a trip they did in 2014. So Niko, any trip you ever did, I mean, if this is the precedence they want to send, any trip that you ever did from Brazil or anywhere else, I guess you're on the chopping block, myself included, all of you watching. If you've been critical, if you called out, and look, there's a whole treasure trove of videos of me calling out Democrats and Republicans. So does that make us, you and me, bad guys now? Because we want to be critical of our government?
Guys, you got to remember, bro, Scott Ritter literally had his passport taken while he was on the plane. So the answer to your question is yes.
Yes. So there you go.
It's not an if, right? This has just happened again. He was going to Scott Ritter was going to a conference to not only speak about U.S. imperialism, but Western imperialism and the damage that it's caused thus far. And he didn't get to make it to the conference.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? So it ain't like it's, I wonder if they will treat us like this. No, that's exactly what will happen, unfortunately.
And so this is why we have to have outlets like your show and everyone else in independent media out there. We need more citizen journalists out there to speak this out. And it doesn't matter who sits in the White House, because at the end of the day, the corporations, the donors, they're going to have their say. And what they want is a controlled narrative in which people are subservient. They don't challenge the system and you obey. As soon as you step out of line, that's when you are made into an example, made into an enemy. Now, does that sound like a quote unquote democracy? Does that sound like anything like a republic? No, it sounds like what we've predicted. This is an oligarchy, and the oligarchs want to make sure that we never fall out of line. And so the Uhuru movement It's only the beginning. And I don't care what color skin you have or who you worship or who you're going to vote for. What happens to them will happen to you, whether you like
100%.
it or not. That's
100%.
that is something that we've have warned about since the Obama administration, the Trump administration, Biden administration, and potentially the Trump administration again. And I hope things will be different this time around, but hope in one hand, crap in the other, see which one fills up faster. I think we've become seasoned veterans of the media landscape as well as the censorship of just how devastating it will be. And these actions are irreversible, unfortunately.
So 2 things. They just got in contact with me. They say he's going to be on in about 5 or 6 minutes. They had trouble with their computer. So we're waiting for him to get back on track there. Technology is undefeated. Secondly, it's important to me that you mentioned the fact that this overlaps, right? So he went to Russia and had this conversation in 2014, which was during the Biden-Obama administration, right? Which means that for whatever reason, they were tracking his movements. And obviously it wasn't, to make sure he got there safely. They tracked him when he went there. They know what he said, and they know when he got back. And they had apparently made the decision that it was problematic that he had gone there. And this was under the Obama administration. So this is the Democrats. Fast forward to 2022. The FBI raids his home during the Trump administration in 2022. Okay. Now, ironically, you would figure that the Trump administration wouldn't be so quick to press somebody over allegations such as these about being loosely connected to Russia, especially given everything that they had experienced. Oh no, I lied. That's not 2022. No, Trump was out. So yeah, I'm wrong. My bad. It started with Obama and Biden, and it's ending with Biden.
And Kamala.
That actually makes it worse. My apologies, everybody. So it's like the moment. So it's almost, to me, what it looks like is that the Obama administration intended on starting this, and the Hillary administration, it looked like they wanted to continue it, but they didn't get their Department of Justice. So once Biden gets back in and you put in the rest of the mafia, right, the Democrat mafia, now they get to continue to push this agenda. And we, once again, like I said, we all know how they've treated in the past any black person, especially, like I said, if you play for one team or the other, like exclusively, they love that, right? Lil Wayne voted for Trump and nobody cared. It was like a trending topic for 2 hours. Ice Cube only said, "Hey guys, I've been doing a little bit of reading. I just realized something. Both parties actually are trash, and they've done nothing for black people." And the whole world lost their fucking mind. They lost their shit. Exactly. I mean, it was insane to see him have to defend himself because he said, "Well, I want to put together, what I want to see for black people on black issues from either presidential candidate, and that's who I will endorse." Now, neither candidate gave him that, but he spoke with both of them. But the fact that he had the audacity to not play for a team was considered to be worse, at least by the actions that we saw that followed, than Lil Wayne playing for a team and voting for Trump. Precisely. That says a lot.
Well, it also shows that the thing is the idea of not being loyal to either party is deemed so controversial because Americans have been trained to, yes, choose a side. And that's because of our schoolings, our institutions, and the way many of us, no matter what generation, boomers, Xers, millennials, Gen Z, this is how we all been trained. But
hey, hold on real quick. I got to stop you because our guest of the hour is finally here.
Fantastic.
Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would do a grand introduction, but Chairman Omali, I feel like is worthy of his own introduction. He can go ahead and introduce himself. Let me go ahead and bring to the stage Chairman Omali of the Uhuru movement.
Thank you so very much, my comrade. I'm self-critical for the delay that has taken me to get here. I was in another location and just trying to work with this format was a little complicated for me.
It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine, Mr. Chairman. Look, technology is forever undefeated. That's my motto. It is nothing we can really do about it. Thank you. Hey, I just want to say thank you. First of all, thank you so much for joining the show. And second of all, before we even get into the topic in depth, let me just say, because we don't even have time to cover everything you've done for Black liberation, not only in the States, but around the world. Let me just say, as a person who's probably benefited from a lot of your work, thank you very, very much, not only for all your achievements, but for being willing to take that sacrifice and be willing to put that target on your back. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm really glad to be here. And I think that one of the things that's happening as far as the United States government is concerned is that in the 1960s, well, in the early part of the 1970s, the U.S. government was involved in a concerted effort to destroy the Black liberation movement that occurred in this country. They had killed Fred Hampton in 1969. They had killed Lumumba. They overthrew Nkrumah, ultimately killing him. They killed Guevara in 1967 in Bolivia. So there was a whole war that was being waged against the Black liberation movement. And I think there's a concern here that I'm one that got away.
We were talking about how I find it ironic that you made this trip in 2014, the trip that's in question that they're trying to prosecute you on. Now, under the Trump administration, it seems like it fell by the wayside. But all of a sudden, once Biden gets back into power, they continued the prosecution and persecution of you and your allies. Do you think there's something to that particular administration, the people involved, have something personal against you and what your organization stands for?
Well, I don't know if it could be characterized as personal. I do know that right now the whole social system is fraught with crises and all kinds of contradictions. And the fundamental contradiction that this country and much of the world is involved in is the colonial contradiction, the fact that the whole capitalist system rests upon a foundation of colonial extraction, oppression of oppressed peoples around the world. And you remember that America came into existence as a consequence of an attack on the indigenous people here. It was a colonial project. It was born as a colonial project. And then the enslavement of Africa and the colonial enslavement of African people here who were being enslaved and dispersed all around the world against our will. So this is a contradiction in anything and it means ultimately that the freedom is illegal for slaves and freedom is illegal for colonized people. That's always been the case. I'll be 83 years old in October, and there's never a day in my whole life that I've known anything that looks like freedom for African people in this country. So what has happened is many of these contradictions are converging. And we see Russia and China have re-entered the political fray in a very serious way. They thought Russia was dead. And China, of course, had been laying in the cut, just building its own capacity development. They thought China was easy prey and they were going to rush into China and get all these resources from 1 billion people and what have you. And of course, China flipped the script on them and became, this major force in the world. And then, of course, they had militarily defeated the Black Revolution in this country. And they killed Fred Hampton, they killed Martin Luther King, they killed Malcolm X. And the thing was, we were supposed to...
And labeled the Black Panthers a terrorist organization. I feel like that's an important part to remember. But didn't do the KKK like that. Let the KKK out of there.
Yeah. Well, that's not even a good... that's an apple and oranges comparison. I mean, the KKK was never about freeing anybody, and the Black Panther Party was born as a movement. Free us. It was born out of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee efforts in Lowndes County, Alabama, that was characterized as the Black Panther Party in 1965. And so this is the origin of a struggle to free Black people. That's the only thing we've ever fought for. And more than 100 years ago, they attacked Marcus Garvey. The FBI cut his teeth on the assault on Marcus Garvey more than 100 years ago. And they ended up framing Garvey. What was Garvey doing? He had created all kinds of economic institutions. He had created a movement for Africa, of Africans for Africa, all around the world. Black people were connected to this project. Was a major assault on the whole colonial mode of production. And so Garvey had to go. But they couldn't say we're attacking Garvey because he's talking about freedom. In fact, if you look at some of the archives from the FBI discussion, they were saying that we're trying to find some reason to deport him, but we can't find any reason. He hasn't done anything wrong. And so then what they do is they claim that the the Black Star Line, the whole shipping industry that Garvey had built for Black people. And that was in 1990, 1920. And we didn't have a shipping line. We haven't had one since Garvey did that more than 100 years ago, 104 years ago. And so they said that Garvey used the mail to defraud the people, et cetera. And so he's talking about Garvey was selling stock to Black people to participate in creating our own major corporations. And so Garvey, they framed up Du Bois on almost the same charges they've got me with. They put Du Bois on trial. They framed up people like Robeson, and the FBI, the Justice Department attacked them for more or less the same kinds of things. So there's been this history of aggression against us, and they thought they had placed the final nail in the coffin of the Black liberation movement in this country with the murder of Fred Hampton in 1969. In fact, the Attorney General at that time had declared to the world that by the end of 1969, the Black Panther Party would be dead. And of course, they killed Fred Hampton on December 4th, 1969. And that was supposed to have been it, but it's not it. And we continue to struggle. And that's the thing. We built the African People's Socialist Party. I came out of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, the Congress, SNCC. And subsequent to that time, we've been involved in struggle, and our objective was to complete that revolutionary movement because they beat us back so definitively that instead of talking about colonialism like we heard, that's what the Panthers talked about. That's what Amilcar Cabral was talking about. That's what Che Guevara was talking about. That's what our movement was talking about, getting rid of colonialism. Then so they pushed it back. And then they raised up this whole concept of fight against racism. And the racism thing was supposed to be what we were fighting against. It's the thing that it's the ideological, racism is simply the ideological foundation of colonialism. It is the thing that arms white people and others with ideological information that make them sometimes willing and sometimes unwilling participants in the colonial domination of Africa and all the people around the world. You say, fight against racism. How do you know when you won? It's over. No. So, but you say colonialism. You talk about colonialism, you're talking about self-government. You're talking about foreign and alien power taking over the lives of other peoples, et cetera. And that's the contradiction that they're trying to crush us around. And so what we have is Russia re-enters political life. China re-enters political life. China has challenged the United States for hegemony in Africa. That's our Africa, by the way. I'm not. They've challenged the U.S. Hegemony in Africa. It's the largest economic entity in Africa today is China, and it's contending with the United States and other Western colonial powers. Russia has now re-entered political life and what have you. So there's this contention that's happening in the world. At the same time, the struggles, this whole system is just ridden with crisis. White people attacking the Capitol, climbing the wall like Spider-Man and stuff, chasing the vice president down the hall, defecating on the floors, etc.
Hey. Now look, Chairman, you got to remember though, those police, they definitely rolled out the red carpet in some of those cases too. So
yeah. Some parts they opened up the door and said, "Come on in,
come on in, man. Y'all want to."
They opened up the door. They opened up the door when they came for us too. The police opened them when they came for us. So we know what's happening. That is a whole collaborative force entity as it looks at the institution of the states in the United States that's attacked us. So they have a serious crisis. And
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. Sure. So what exactly was the discussion that you had when you went to Russia that makes the U.S. government believe that this case can hold any water?
I think it's not the discussion we had, because you mentioned that I went to Russia really in 2015, twice in 2015. And that was in April of 2015. But they didn't attack us until July of 2022.
Yeah.
So you had a 7-year period from the time I went to Russia. But what happened? I went to Russia because there's a non-governmental organization, the anti-globalization movement of Russia, invited us to come there, along with a lot of people and groups from other countries, to participate in dialogue of nations. This whole thing of movements around the world that are talking about self-determination. That's why we went there. and we talked about.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a problem. Yeah, I can see why that's a problem. I can see why they wouldn't like.
And that's absolutely necessary for us, but it's not new. See, I was in Ireland in 1982 and 83, and the Irish Republican Socialist Party actually came out with a statement, held a press conference. So while I was there, a national press conference. This is the time England was obviously and directly colonizing Ireland. First time I've ever seen white people live under the same kind of conditions that black people live in this country was in Ireland. So I'm in Belfast, Ireland. And the Irish Republican Socialist Party, they came out and they said that they supported our demand for reparations. They supported the fact that we were saying the United States government should be forced to ratify the 1948 United Nations Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. And they said they would not take any money from Irish persons in this country, in the United States, unless they support the Black Liberation Movement and supported our demand for reparations, etc.
Wow, I never knew that.
This is the Irish Republican Socialist Party came out with that. Of course, they were attacked almost 2 days later. Their building was burned down in Ireland, and the chairman of that organization was assassinated not too much longer after that. That was in 1983 that I was there. I was in Nicaragua. I was in Nicaragua when the first Trump was elected. They called him Ronald Reagan. I was there. He was going to make America white again too, and he was attacking all of the freedom-loving people around the world. He was attacking Nicaragua. He made a major attack on Nicaragua. I was there when he had chosen as his what is the foreign minister in the United States called?
Secretary of State.
Secretary of State. And the General Alexander Haig, it was made Secretary of State, and he made the statement upon becoming Secretary of State that henceforth he defined himself as the vicar of foreign policy, and that with the Reagan administration that we will not tolerate referring to people like in Nicaragua, El Salvador fighting for freedom as freedom fighters. They shall be known as terrorists. So that's
when that started. So that's when they started saying the rhetoric of freedom fighters being terrorists.
Terrorists. This is Haig said that. That was his statement. That was an inaugural statement of Haig coming to power. So I was in Nicaragua. I went to Nicaragua. Why did I go to Nicaragua? Because we supported the Nicaraguan revolution, one. And second, because we're winning as many friends and allies as we can around the world to support the struggle for Black people in this country. I have a right and responsibility to do that. So that's just a couple of places. But I've been to Spain. I was in Spain in 2007 at the invitation of a non-governmental organization there who paid money for us to come, who paid money for other people who we brought there with us. They brought us 3 people, one from England and 2 of us from the United States. So I've been making these trips. I've been doing everything I can. I was in Oxford in 2019. I spoke at Oxford University. And I made same criticism in the United States when I was at Oxford. I was talking about what they were doing in Yemen. I was talking about what they're doing to oppress peoples around the world, etc. And I said, I cannot come here and speak to you in Oxford without saying something about what the United States is doing in Venezuela right now. So this is what I was doing. But the fact is that when this whole Ukraine question, because this has become like a fundamental thing, like again, the Ukraine that I went to Europe, to Russia in 2015, but it's 2022 that they attack us. And what happens in 2022? What else happened?
Invasion of Ukraine.
The invasion of Ukraine. And so,
I rather refer to it as Russia's defense of U.S. and Western imperialism. That's what I like to refer to it as.
Yeah, it was a defensive war by Russia. And so this was the thing that was critical. And the United States has this critical thing that's going on in the world already, and then trying to contain what's happening in this country with white people climbing the walls and really now, even at this point, threatening the legitimacy of any elections with a former president, the guy saying that the elections are illegitimate, that all of this stuff is going on. They got a problem, and they want to make me and the African People's Socialist Party and the Uhuru movement something that they're going to use to cover the fact it's their contradiction, not ours. We didn't write the First Amendment. They wrote it. And when they wrote First Amendment that was in something like they ratified it in 1791. In 1791, black people were under the gun in this country, had no rights. In fact, in 1857 or 59, I think it was, you had a Supreme Court justice that said that black people have no rights that the white man has to respect. That was the law. That was the Supreme Court said that. So the fact is, when they made this stuff about free speech, the Bill of Rights, except they didn't include us, but they got a problem because we were struggling anyway. And because we were struggling so seriously, they had to say, okay, you too, and act like it referred to us. But the fact is, it was only in 1865, after the Civil War, that there was even a pretext that somehow we were supposed to have any freedom. But you know that wasn't real. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a 1964 Civil Rights Act, 1965 voting rights, etc. We've never had those. And so they want to cover that up by attacking us. They want to say that Russians, we had to have some white people in Russia to tell us that we were oppressed, to tell us that we had to fight back, to tell us that we have to organize. So we are hired agents of Russia. We are Russian agents. And so anyway.
You know what's funny about that? And correct me if I'm wrong, Chairman, but last time I checked, in post-Soviet Russia has never actually colonized any country that's principally black or indigenous in Africa or Latin America, correct?
Yeah, you won't find black people in this country with Russian's last name unless they adopt it. You know, we got last names from the colonizers. You know, there's a black Stalin who is one of my favorite, used to be one of my favorite musicians in the Caribbean, but he picked Stalin because Stalin represented the revolution as far as he was concerned. But no, we don't have Russian names. We got names of people who captured us and forced us to slave and to really, you know, just be on the other end of the worst kind of humiliation that's is possible for people to have to be dealt with, you know. I mean, they turned the whole continent of Africa into a breeding ground for captured enslavement of African people. That's what Africa was turned into. So yeah, and so
I was just going to say that's a common thing. I'm not sure how many times you traveled to Brazil, but I was confused when I got here because some people would tell me, "Oh, my name is Robertson." I was like, "Okay, that doesn't really sound Portuguese, but all right." Or my name's Anderson, for example. I was like, "Hold up, why do y'all have these names?" And then I found out maybe this person might look white, but their father is actually Black Brazilian of African descent, and therefore they're actually passing down the names from the slave owners. Slavery ended in Brazil later than in any other part of the Americas. So as far as the free speech aspect is concerned, to me, it seems like you were way more busy than I thought you had been for outside of that one trip to Russia. And I'm curious, Kid, if you want to expand upon this or ask a question about this too, I'd love to hear about it. But like, that sounds like it could have played a huge part as to why they went after you, because it seems like you might have been on the road to inspiring a lot more people to challenge Western imperialism and the liberation of oppressed people around the world at a time when they were actively planning to engage in what they're doing right now.
Yeah, you should know, dear brother, that the African People's Socialist Party, we're not a large organization, but we have organizations in Africa. We have extraordinarily busy in South Africa. I'm talking about African. I'm not talking about protest organizations. I'm talking about people who are organizing on the ground with the assumption being that we have to take power. We have to have power over our own lives, and that we have to do this as a part of a single nation that's fighting on different fronts, because the colonial powers, how in the hell you got a situation where Macron and the French, control something like 50 more territories in Africa. And that's more than any Africans control. You understand? So Africa is our land, period. And this is the wealth and resources of the whole Western world relies on that. So we decided a long time ago, it's impossible for African people to win our freedom when fought solely within the context of the borders that they have created for us. They have split us up. They carved up Africa, and they spread it out, and they share it among themselves. So we are organized in Africa. We're in various places in Africa. In South Africa in particular, we have extraordinarily young revolutionary leaders who are part of the African People's Socialist Party. We're in Namibia. We're in Swaziland. We are in Ghana and in just various places on the continent of Africa. We're busy there. We are in England. They just had I think on the 12th of this month, a major kind of hands-off Uhuru, hands-off Africa in Paris, France. We are in France. You see, so we have Black organization and friends in all of these different places, and that's problematic too, because for the first time since Garvey, Africans are growing a capacity to speak with one voice, because our weakness has been they've been able to attack us in this place, and then they don't get a response, because Africans have, not have the organization ideological capacity to see that we're all under attack. One, two, the other thing is colonialism is a mode of production. And so this is why when the United States, when the people in Nicaragua rose up in 1979, and we saw that we created and built the first support organization, rallies, and things like that in Northern California in solidarity with Nicaragua. We had never met Nicaraguans, but we understood they were colonized, we are colonized. It's part of the same struggle, same structure that we have to contend with.
Same script, the same script too, same script, same pattern. They don't even change it.
Same script. And look at what's happening with Palestine. You see the murder of Palestinians, that's in grotesque, brutal murders, and it's based on a certain kinds of assumptions they have about what they can do to people who are living under colonial domination. We're not going to do that anymore. Nobody's going to do that. And certainly Africans, and certainly we're not going to do it. So they've charged us with an assortment of offensive that we are supposed to have committed. The Russia thing you mentioned, they claim that in 2014, they claimed that sometime around then I became an agent of Russia, and that this was consolidated when I went to Moscow in 2015. They said that because we initiated a campaign to force the United States to take to the United Nations the whole genocide convention, and say that the United States violating the Convention on Genocide and the way they treat African people. They said the Russians paid us to do this. They said we ran 2 campaigns in St. Petersburg, Florida, with less than 1/3 of a million people. And of that 1/3 of a million people, perhaps something like 18, maybe 25% of them Africans. They said that we ran elections campaigns in 2017 and 2019 that called for reparations. And we did the first time in history, the reparations thing was on the ballot. We did it right here in St. Petersburg, Florida, with Akila Nai and Jesse Neville, who ran from our movement, etc. So they said the Russians.
Man, look, hey Doc, listen, man, you need to go. Yeah, I don't know if you're holding the class, but we trying to get organized in this leftist revolutionary movement and really the populist movement. I feel like I know it's an African liberation socialist, but can you just do some classes on the side? Because you be getting it done, man.
I also have a question as well, because here's the thing: we're witnessing now the absolute deconstruction of the Democrat Party, which has for a long time, at least made itself look like it cared about social issues, wanted to invite everyone in. And in your time, I'm listening to your history and reading about your case. First of all, I'm sorry that you're going through this, you and your organization. This is all unjust, and it seems like an attempt to silence any kind of critics, and it sets a dangerous precedent for future activist groups and organizers to be put on the chopping block. But what I want to ask you is, what are your thoughts right now, at least with this administration apparently imploding in on itself? And is there any chance that perhaps with this administration going on self-destruct, will you guys be able to at least walk away from what they're trying to do to you? Because if they are successful, that means everybody in this country can then be deemed as an enemy, or that if you went anywhere across the country or world and you were there was, I guess, quote unquote, bad people that the U.S. government says are bad, then that means, you're automatically an enemy. What are your thoughts on this administration imploding in on itself, and the Democrats, the facade is finally melting away?
Well, I think it's good the facade is melting away. I think that's an extremely important thing, because the Democratic Party has not had to offer any Africans anything. You can't even say they lied to us, because they didn't promise us anything. And they don't have to promise anything because they said that if you don't vote for us, what did Biden say? If you don't vote for me, you ain't black.
You ain't black.
If you don't vote for us, then the boogeyman Trump is going to get you, or McCain is going to get you, or the Republicans are going to get you. And then, of course, the Republican Party is notoriously reactionary as well. And as you speak about the implosion of the Democratic Party, in many ways, we're seeing something similar happening with the Republican Party, which is increasingly is not a Republican Party, but it is the handmaiden to Donald Trump, which has disrupted much of how the Republican Party had even functioned in the past, which is not to say it functioned in a good way for us, but
there was a traditional, pragmatic, and predictable approach to the Republican Party that they could always rely on, and now it's not the same.
It's not the same, and so there's been this disruption. And the question, they rated us in July 29th, 2022. It took them 9 months before they indicted us.
Wow.
And I think that one of the reasons it's taken that long, it took that long, well, a couple of reasons. One, they were hoping we would run. Two, they were hoping we'd do something silly that would give them a legitimate reason for shooting us or doing something, bad to us, or something to that effect. Or three, and this was probably on the top of the agenda, they were hoping that the violence that they used in this raid, and this is an extremely violent raid, would terrorize us to the point that we would come and cop a plea, so something we didn't do, etc. But
that actually does follow the pattern of Russiagate. Whenever they were going after Trump's people that actually had nothing to do with Russiagate, quote unquote, they went after people and got them to cop pleas on anything, and then say, look, we prosecuted them, but it actually had nothing to do with Putin or the elections, but it was a media headline that scared people away from Trump, and then also brought more people into the fear mongering of Russia.
Exactly. So the Russia thing has been that. And of course, the black thing has always been like a thing. So if you can connect Russia and black people together, that's a frightening specter for a lot of people and potential jurors and things like that. But yeah, I think that what we see now is that it took a long time for that indictment. And then even after the indictment, our lawyer filed a brief calling for a dismissal of the charge. It took something like 4 months before they even ruled on that dismissal thing.
Right.
And then after I say they ruled, the magistrate ruled on that, and our lawyer appealed the magistrate's ruling.
Hold on, a magistrate? You didn't even get a hearing for that dismissal?
No, what happens often is that a federal magistrate would take it and then make a recommendation to the federal judge that the federal judge would usually go with. This instant, it took something like 4 months, to even get a recommendation from the magistrate. So the magistrate disagreed with our appeal, and so we objected to that and filed another motion. And so that one is still out. They haven't ruled on that one yet. So they've taken this whole thing. And I think one of the reasons that we've gone through this unusual process to speak to the question that was just raised about whether or not the chances are better with the disarray of the Biden regime, the possibility is that much of why it took so long to rule on some of these things is because the implications that the rulings would have for the ruling class itself, because the whole issue of free speech is rolling everything. Free speech for this January 6th, free speech when it comes to Trump and January 6th and other times he's spoken, free speech, all of this stuff is just rolling the waters. And so
corporate donations, remember, corporations were only able to donate to campaigns because of the First Amendment. That was what was ruled. So you start to see, you're right. It does roll downhill. If this it can be used as precedents in future federal cases.
Exactly. So I think that they were concerned about a ruling that had implications for them. They want they want the Uhuru movement, but the ruling that they make could have implications for cases that's out there by Republicans and MAGA forces and other ruling class forces. So how they rule on this could have implications, setting precedent for them as well. So they've done a lot of contortion.
You think it would only be Republicans that day? I feel like it would be Democrats too, right? Because you got to think these federal judges recently those were the judges that were fast tracked by the Democrats.
Yeah.
Even though Trump was in office, the federal judges were fast tracked by the Democrats. So whoever would be involved in this case and would be following the precedents thereafter would likely, I mean, you got to think about everybody that's involved in Ukraine right now, for example, because it isn't just the politicians themselves, but anybody who's part of the Atlantic Council is involved in that. And so the implications are huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead.
What I'm talking about is that how they rule now would have implications for other cases that's going to be out there that the ruling class itself.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like so members of both parties are part of the Atlantic Council.
Yeah.
And so if they eat, because they have a lot of money going into Ukraine or other countries that would be considered adversarial to the United States or at least problematic for the United States. So if somebody who doesn't like them, so let's just say, for example, if Trump wins, right? I'm pretty sure you would probably consider him, like I would, a pretty vindictive man who's probably a little bit pissed off given the last 3 years. If he puts in judges that could use your case as precedents, because if they finish it before he wins, your case could be, and you lost, unfortunately, your case could be used as precedents to try everybody who pissed him off. Yeah. So that could have something to do with like you said, it could have something to do with why they're taking so long to finish this up.
Yeah, I think they're doing like the weatherman and sticking their finger in the and see which way the wind is blowing and what have you. You know, I agree, and there's serious implications here. And I'm hoping, if nothing else, that this struggle, this case, will really help to inform African people of the critical role that we play in history and politically, and not just think that our struggle is something, there's this minuscule thing that around, welfare rights or et cetera, that there's a huge global struggle and we are part of that, whether we are conscious of it or not, we are part of it. And to the extent that we achieve consciousness of that, we can play a better, more informed and better organized role in charting our own course. And I think this is the thing that frightens them more than anything, that African people do have agency, that we don't need Russians, we don't need Americans, we don't need anybody to tell us that we are oppressed. We live this stuff every day. And Malcolm X once said that difference in somebody describing what it is to be in a hot pan, a frying pan. The person who's in the frying pan has a whole different explanation than somebody watching them in the frying pan. And we in the frying pan. We know what the hell is happening here.
Yep, man, I couldn't put it any better. I have friends, for example, who are police officers, and they are confused as to why I just am, just inherently anti-policing. And I'm like, they're like, well, how could you be like, you're pretty well off, or you speak well, you're professional. I don't understand, if you're not rude, why would they attack you? I said, sir, I've been jumped by police officers 2 times, and there was about 5 or 6 police officers each time. I have a cap in the front of my tooth. People don't know that because I was able to get it fixed. But this is why I was in the military, that they held me down after I had desisted, and they decided to attack me for no reason. They held me down, handcuffed me, and then the police officer just proceeded to hit me in the mouth with his baton. Yeah, that was the first time. The second time, I was in a Burger King, and the police were called on somebody else. This was in Miami, Florida. The police were actually called for somebody else. I just happened to be standing there getting waiting for my order, and the police ran in, saw the only black guy there, and decided that I was the one that they were there for, and they proceeded to beat the hell out of me. And luckily for me, my friend came in when he realized what was going on, because one cop tried to pull out his gun twice, and my friend called him out. It's like, why do you keep pulling out your gun? And they actually arrested him too. Then when I went into the hospital because they tore my rotator cuff, they actually technically kidnapped me, because they put 2 officers in front of my hospital room, so I couldn't leave, even though technically they never had an arrest affidavit and I was free to go. They showed up out of nowhere with handcuffs. Like the last day I was there, I was like, what is this? They're like, oh, well, you're arrested. I'm like, well, yeah, I thought I already was. They were like, it was a black cop, fortunately, who showed up. He was like, no, you were never arrested. They put those cops out there to make sure that you wouldn't leave. And they falsified an arrest affidavit. So I'm advising you the cop told me to sue them. But when I try to go get I tried to get my records, and they had the hospital erase any record of me staying there.
Yes. What year was that? Because
this is 2017. Yeah, 2017 or 2018.
It sounds familiar. Did that make the news?
Oh no. And all those what's his name? That's Mr. Crump. I reached out to him. He refused to take the case. They all the big ones, they refused to take it because nobody wanted to mess with Miami PD.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm sorry you went through that, Niko, man. That's
Benjamin Crump, he hits the lottery every time something like this happens.
Yeah, and it was you know, I've worked in law before, so I figured out that what Miami PD does is they pay off every major law firm, not only in Florida, by the way, they'll pay off major law firms in all the major states, and because of how much money they get, so that there's a conflict of interest, and those firms are not allowed to represent you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. So it's like, hold on, if you can pay off the civil rights attorneys whose whole job is supposed to be to protect those whose civil rights are traditionally violated, then how is this system at all considered just? That's so when I try to explain to people, I'm like, I'm not saying the world is racist, but it's like you said, it's not really about the racism, is it? Is it really about the racism? Or is it like you said, it's about the idea of colonialism and who benefits from that system and who is a victim of it? And just because you think that you succeeded within that system, that doesn't mean you benefited from it. Usually it just means that you are you benefited in spite of it.
Yeah. The thing is that I've known a lot of civil rights lawyers, and Crump is not one of them.
With your case taking place here, I mean, it's already sounding like a lot of this is frivolous and malicious. Will there be any kind of counter towards what this administration has done to you and the other members who were victims of this? Because all of this sounds frivolous. All of this sounds completely malicious to target, again, something that was, 10 years? 10 years on a vacation trip. Even earlier today in the stream, Niko House mentioned Jill Stein. She was like, oh yeah, I forgot that photo even took place. Like none of this adds up. And this almost seems like a way to force any activists or organizers to remember, if you step out of line with the Democrats, we're going to make an example out of you.
Yeah, they do that. The attack itself cost us $40,000 just on the
Jesus Christ.
Just the damages that they've done to our offices, our homes, the materials they stole, laptops and cell phones and things like that. And then we've had to raise pretty close to $300,000 just in legal expenses. And then, of course, part of what this is about too is to break you. We have something like more than 52 independent economic political institutions that we've created in this country. We've created programs for housing African people once they get out of prison, men and women. We've created workforce programs where in restaurants, that bakery cafes that we are creating even now, as we have this discussion, they can learn culinary arts when they get out of prison, have some place to stay. We bought the properties for that. We created a $160,000 basketball court in St. Louis, which is almost decimated by poverty and joblessness and things like that. And of course, the gentrification process where Africans, you see it in every community where Africans live, the children have to have these makeshift basketball hoops and stuff in the middle of the streets, have to stop every time a car comes by. We've created those. We said the children need to be able to see the sky. They don't have to have a view that's limited to them, the thing that's been imposed on them. So this is the kind of stuff we're doing. But they would take all the money. They made us spend up almost $300,000 just on this. They would take it away from these programs we call these programs. We call these programs for not self-determination, but these are programs that negates the colonial process. It's dual power. We create a dual and contending power that Africans are preparing to be self-governing people. We haven't done anything. We've run campaigns, electoral campaigns and things like that. And the other thing that we've done that's really important is that in the past, they've been able to isolate the Black liberation movement by by mobilizing white people in opposition to us, the Russia black thing. We broke out of that isolation, as early as the early part of the 1970s. We created the African People's Solidarity Committee, which is an organization of white people who work under the leadership of fighting against colonialism. And through this organization, we have a presence in 130 cities of white people whose day-to-day work is fighting against reparations, whose day-to-day work fighting for reparations, I should say, and raising up the genocide and taking the struggle and conditions of African people into their homes, into their neighborhoods, into their schools, and other things like that. So it becomes at least increasingly complicated for them to attack us in the way they have been able to attack us with this anti-white, kind of rhetoric that they've used in the past. So
continuing to work at Fred Hampton, basically.
Yes,
continuing to work at Fred Hampton.
Yeah. Well, I was there when Fred was doing that. We were doing it here and in other places. Fred was influenced like Malcolm X and Marcus Garvey and people who were there before us. We've been making this struggle for a long time. And of course, I'm glad you mentioned Fred, because when they came to my home in Redbud in St. Louis, pre-dawn raid that they made on us, we weren't in the bed. We were sitting up because I was on my way to the gym. My wife was presiding over a doula program that we created in St. Louis, because in St. Louis, there are enough African babies die the first year of life to fill 15 kindergarten classes. So we were talking about that morning. The doula program where we had women who were coming to be trained to be doulas was happening. So we're sitting around talking about that. And then out of the blue, out of the darkness, this sound comes telling us to come out with our hands up and hands empty. And then immediately following that, these grenades going off around the house and the back stairwell, around the neighborhood and what have you, terrorizing people and things like that. So this is the kind of confrontation, that they initiated against us. And like I said, they would have us use all the resources that we've been using for the doula program and other things like that to pay lawyers to defend ourselves, or to frighten us so that we don't do the work that we're doing now. This work has to be done. And yeah.
I'm sorry that you're going through that, even hearing about this, because look, again, anyone that would be in your shoes, you're hearing about all the legal fees and the court issues that come with it. It's obviously clear this is a way to intimidate. And as soon as you bow your head, as soon as you bend the knee, that means that means now you got to start being subservient or fall in line with the Democratic Party or with the establishment itself. So that way they make sure to tell you this never happens again. What if anything, what has really stood out to you in regards to the support that you guys have been getting? Like what is motivating your organization to keep on doing this fight, especially against this wrongful attack against you guys? What's helping you push forward in this? Because if anything, dealing with the legal fees, the legal issues, and the U.S. government apparently following you guys around, what's pushing you forward and keeping you motivated to keep this fight going on?
Well, you're part of the motivation, to be frank, because one objective they've had is to isolate us, and they initiated a war of ideas. And usually the African population is not well armed to contend with this war of ideas. And the traditional regular colonial media don't pay attention to it. I mean, you think about this: after they attacked us and they accused us of stuff like related to espionage and what have you. This is a big news case, one would think, but you can't read about it. You can't hear anything about it. We're just a little more than a month away from a February 3rd trial. But what has happened is that we've seen many forces that's associated with the left. We've built an anti-colonial free speech movement with more than 40 different organizations and different kinds of entities, including media entities who've joined in with this. And this has been really important, because what has happened is we've contributed to giving a focus to the efforts that are being made by groups who dealing with the Stop Cop City struggle, where 61 so people have been indicted under RICO law. We've been able to work with and pull into our embrace the groups associated out of the University of South Florida, who had been jailed and indicted because they protested against Governor DeSantis' declaration that Black history couldn't be taught. We pulled into this process of Palestinians, Mexican people, where we worked closely with Mexicans for 40 years or so. And all of us now coming to a collective understanding of this, a colonial mode of production that we're involved in. And that having come to that understanding, you don't even have to be there to fight back. We can begin to implement the slogan of Che Guevara, 2-3 mini Vietnams, as applicable to what's happening all around the world. So that's been really helpful. And just, I may have mentioned it, but just on the 12th, I think it was, we had a magnificent mobilization or certainly forum in Paris dealing with this question. So there's a growing number of peoples and organizations, and that we've been able to resurrect the whole struggle against colonialism and move away from this self-serving kind of politic of anti-racism that doesn't do anything to move our struggle forward. It's a great moment in history, and we're really happy to be able to play a role in that. So that's part of what really helps us. And on the 31st of August, we're having a major mobilization in St. Petersburg, Florida. St. Petersburg, Florida is right across the bridge from Tampa, Florida, where we're going to be put on trial. We have already initiating what we characterize as Freedom Summer. We have all kinds of activists and leftists and people of goodwill, et cetera, invited to come to St. Petersburg, Florida. Let's go to work. Let's do practical work. Let's do like SNCC would do, going door to door, talking to people, bringing people into political awareness and helping people to see what's happening here, what's happening in the world, what's happening at the Republican convention, how that relates to our lives, right here on the ground. So that's what we're doing. And of course, on the 3rd of September, we want to have so many people here that the courtroom in Tampa will have to be held outside someplace in a stadium. That's what we want to do. Just bring as many people as possible, because this is a political trial. They have used the state, they have used arms and what have you, and filed these charges against us, but it's a political trial. And so we have to be able, we've got great lawyers. We got a team of 5 lawyers who are working on this case, extraordinary lawyers. And you should go to handsoffUhuru.org and look at the brief.
Yeah, the link is in the description, by the way.
Okay. Yeah. That's really important. So we know that we've got great lawyers, but it's a political case. And they don't expect that just relying on the law, they can win this, because we have done nothing that violates the First Amendment of the United States, the Bill of Rights of the United States, freedom of assembly of the United States, freedom from fear, from unreasonable search and siege. We haven't done anything. Everything that even suggests that is a lie. It's an absolute false construction. And our lawyer has said, just for purpose of appeal, going through the court system, that even if we had done what they said we've done, we haven't violated the constitutional protection of the First Amendment. So that's the reality. But they would change the law. And you mentioned about going to Russia or going any place out of the country. You don't have to go out of the country. If you have a position that they say is aligning with the position of somebody they don't like anywhere in the world, they can claim that you are employed by that person, and they can put you in jail. They can indict you and imprison you. And that's the thing that we're looking at right now, why this case is so important and why we have to fight and why we have to win.
I just have a quick follow-up, and if you can't comment on it, I understand completely, because obviously this case is very important. You guys are in the fight for your lives, but just with everything that's being stated, is there a potential or possibility to where this case should or could be dismissed? Because it sounds like they're just throwing anything at the wall and see what will stick. And even if they are successful, it leads to dangerous consequences further on down the road. But nothing seems to add up. Has there been any talk about that, at least with your team? Can you elaborate if you can?
Yeah, I can say, that there have been suggestions, faint suggestions that we could cop some kind of plea. But, I appreciate, the lawyers, one of the lawyers, made this very important statement. To do that would be committing perjury.
Wow.
We'd have to commit perjury to say that we did anything that they said. But in terms of whether a case can be stopped, I believe with the political climate as it is in this country today, I think that your listeners, the people we're trying to organize throughout this country and around the world, getting people into St. Petersburg, Florida, showing an obvious rejection of this claim by the federal government, recognizing that this is a time where even the Republican Party have talked about how the FBI, has been, politicized and used as an instrument against the freedom of the people. I think it's possible. And I think it's possible. I think fighting, that we can't lose if we fight. And we can't win if we don't fight. So
that's right. Exactly.
The struggle is what it's all about.
Well done.
Amen. Really quick, I don't want to hold you up too much longer, but before we get you on up out of here, do you have any comments about what we saw take place last weekend, where Trump almost lost his life? It looks like, and people are making a lot of speculations as to why they believe that was. But do you have any comments before you go?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was an important event, and I think that it helps to make a point that is critical, that we're living now, as far as African people are concerned, we've never had the advantage of free speech. I mean, I think about Emmett Till. They talked about how they're celebrating the 60th anniversary or something of the murder of Emmett Till, who was claimed to whistle at a white woman, and that's why he was murdered at 14 years of age. I think that this whole issue of speech is a critical question. And so here you have this struggle that's happening between contending sectors of the ruling class, with Trump being on one side and Biden, of course, representing another side of that, even though this is in a state of flux now, what side people are on. But I think that we're talking about Trump being shot at for talking. We're talking about how this whole question of what you say seems to be such a critical thing, and ability to say it, that and the government, the Biden administration, the Justice Department in this instance under the Biden administration, I think sets a horrible precedent. When the government start arresting people for what they say, you're talking about a lone wolf. If the government is attacking people for what they say, and then it seems to me it suggests that individuals can do the same thing. People say something, but I can shoot you. I can, but we've had bombings happen because of what we say. I mean, Martin Luther King was killed for what he said. Malcolm X was killed for talking, etc. So I think that this issue of free speech is critical. And I think that the government sets a precedent when it would come at us based on what it is we said, when they would attack the premise of free speech that's supposed to be foundational in terms of this country. Then it tells everybody, you create all kinds of lone wolves, if that's what you want to make this 20-year-old kid who they said shot at Trump. Everybody's a lone wolf. If that's the way the government does it, that's the way anybody can do it. So that's what I see that. Yeah.
That's real. That's real. Please let everybody know once again where they can go so they can help you, one, bring attention to this case, but two, help you financially to take care of this case and anything that may come forward in the future.
I want to thank you, comrades. It's been great, being with you. It really has. And
thank you for coming on.
And go to handsoffuhuru.org. That's UHURU, handsoffuhuru.org. And I want to appreciate your recognition of the Atlanticist group, because that's something most people don't understand. And of course, Trump went against the Atlanticist group, the Atlanticist process that came right after the Second Imperialist World War, that created NATO, that created the United Nations, that created many of the trade organizations. And Trump came out fighting against all of those things. And it's really interesting and how and it's money involved in it all up and down the line. And Trump and some of the people associated with him are newcomers to this hustle on the international arena in terms of international hustle. And so they saw resources in Russia and other places like that, the energy, petroleum, and other kinds of mineral resources associated with that, and the whole bunch of them. I mean, Manafort, the general, and everybody was tied to Trump. Come the Russia question. It's economics, and that economics and politics is simply concentrated economics. And that's what we've been seeing up to now. So I just want to express my deepest, most profound appreciation to you, comrades, for sharing this space with us, because we're convinced that we can win. We are convinced that we are winning. Uhuru.
That's right. And keep on winning, please. For
Keep
all
on
of us
fighting.
who are rooting for you.
And thank you for the history lesson, because boy, I learned a lot. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So wow, kid, that was a hell of a conversation, man.
The $40,000 for this entire case. I mean, all of this is completely unnecessary. And what this is intimidation. This is a way to make people be afraid. And this is how little a lot of these institutions really think of people who are critical of the government. And this goes for every single one of us. You know, you have to fight. If you believe in what you're doing, you have to be consistent. That's what you've been doing for your work. You've been around longer than I have, so technically you are the older man. but so yeah,
a little bit, only a couple of years. Now the DNC fraud lawsuit, we have experience with that. Whenever we initially brought the suit, that's why when he said 4 months, it was weird. I'm like, why did it take 4 months for him to make a decision about a dismissal? Because when we brought the DNC fraud lawsuit and Sean Lucas, rest in peace, served the process. They moved immediately to dismiss, and then we had a court date very shortly after that, or at least they arrived at a magistrate to set a court date very shortly after that. So for them to have waited as long as they had to wait was bizarre. But I also know, like, we had to wait very long. Whenever we found out we were going to the Supreme Court, we waited a long time for us to even figure out if it was going to be heard there. And the reason why, most likely, at least my speculation is, and our speculation is because they wanted to see who was going to win the primary. So Biden wins the primary, and Clarence Thomas gets to determine whether or not we get heard. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, RIP to the DNC fraud lawsuit. So we know how the funny business goes when it comes to the legal game. When people say that there's no politics involved, at least in this country, or at least in the United States, you don't become a federal judge nor a Supreme Court justice without playing politics to get there. It is not an elected position. And generally speaking, to get to a certain level, the president has to nominate you, right? And the Congress approves you, but the president nominates you. So let me check out this super chat really quick.
That's right.
Roger Meadows said, Niko, where's the NAACP at the league? Now you know damn well.
I have the answer. I have the answer. They were listening to Joe Biden talk about black jobs, like the vice president and president of these United States. That's where the NAACP was at.
I'll tell you what a black job is. The vice presidency. It's like, damn. I don't think that came out how we thought it should. Like, so only the vice presidency is a black job. It can't be the president. All right.
Yeah. No. He did say, and the president. So.
Oh, he did say. Oh, okay. I'm about to say now. Okay, yeah, but he probably forgot. He was like, "Oh shit, let me add that real quick."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was your boss. Remember, he was your boss once. Okay, because I'm just saying. Taya, thank you very much for the super chat. Sorry to hear that, Niko. When my grandma was kidnapped and sent to the hospital by my aunt, the hospital ignored my mother's power of attorney. Eventually, we got my grandma out. That's crazy, but it's scary how terrible the system is. Yeah, and the hospital system is bizarre, especially because hospitals in the U.S. by and large are private. So like they can just kind of do what they want to, and you actually have to go through a legal system in order to get any type of help. And like basically in my situation, I would have to pay in order to get a lawyer to sue to figure out what happened to my records. So like I knew something was strange though, because I didn't even get a bill. I was like, am I gonna get billed for this? Like, what's going on? Because I went to the emergency room before they put me in the hospital bed. And I'm thinking to myself, TRICARE at least should have called me at this point to ask me like to verify the charges, to verify the billing. I got not a bill, not a nothing. I'm like, that was weird. Let me call again to see what's up. Call them, bro. Erase everything.
To anyone that's living outside the United States. So here's the thing. In the United States, it costs money to go to the hospital. And the fact that you didn't get a bill, it's like, where's the bill at? Because there's interest that follows up on that. So the fact that you didn't get that would kind of scare me too. It's like,
yeah,
where's that bill at? Hello?
I was gonna make them pay for it regardless, but I'm like, I at least need a bill. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, I'm not, just in case, I don't need to mess up my credit or anything like that. And nah, there was no bill because they just erased everything. So Michelle Michelle Mwezi. No, ooh, please don't make me say all that. I'm gonna go with Michelle Odom. Thank you very much for becoming the newest member to our channel. I appreciate it.
How
I
dare
want to
you?
switch it up and cover something a little lighthearted, kid, because it's been, I don't know if you want to codify this week in politics. It's scary as hell, funny as hell, a little bit of both.
All the above. I
All
gotta
the-
say, what happened on Saturday, you know, I've occasionally like stopped when I'm doing like washing dishes or doing my daily run. I'll be like stopped like these last couple of days, like, oh my God, if things went south, if things became grimdark, I don't know if we would be having this pleasant conversation right now if something did happen to Trump, to which I have to say, I'm glad he's okay. I don't want anything bad happen to any of the candidates. But my goodness, I don't think we could properly predict just how people would emotionally react if something did happen to Donald Trump. And I think we could think of worst case scenario. I don't want to say all out civil war, but I would say there would be some massive public outrage towards what happened.
People are underestimating how popular. I mean, Trump is, technically speaking, the most popular incumbent in history. It was Barack Obama, but like he's just the only difference. No, it's true. Like Barack Obama won.
I know,
but the difference is, which is also probably how so many errors, we'll just leave it at that, came up. Because for somebody to be as popular as Trump was as an incumbent, as far as voter turnout is concerned, and then still lose to somebody who looked like they were about to lose, you know, in the final hours, it was strange. So if he would have gotten killed in that particular way, listen, it wouldn't. People think, nah, nothing would change. Nothing. We don't have any reason to. Nah, I don't believe that. I don't believe it, guys. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think that it would have went south, and I don't. And listen. And it wouldn't even be necessarily exclusively just Trump supporters. I can tell you right now, I would be like, oh, hell no. So this is where we're at. We're just eliminating anybody who's inconvenient, because that's what it would be. And I was even honestly kind of impressed that kid, some 20-year-old kid who apparently didn't even make the rifle club, all of a sudden had that level of accuracy with an AR from that distance.
Well, what stands out with the incident with Trump and what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. This is much of the cringe to the liberals. He is now forever immortal in human history, not just American history. That iconic $1 billion photo, this whole entire where he's doing the fist pump in the air. Say whatever you will about the photo, it is forever going to be taught in history classes. It's going to be there, and Trump, no matter what scenario, I'm glad it's the best case scenario. He has been made into a political martyr, and he has been made into this icon that cannot be undone. He survived an assassination attempt. And, you know, I'm 39 years old. Next year, I'll be 40. You know, I remember in the history books, they talked about the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, or what happened to William McKinley, or even Theodore Roosevelt getting shot, or what happened to JFK, and even Ronald Reagan. I never thought, at least maybe this is my blind idealism playing, that I would see a president be assassinated in my lifetime. But I'm reminded of the words of my grandfather. Yeah, no, I never thought I'd see it. No, I just thought like, okay, and maybe that's just assumptions, assuming that, okay, it's maybe security.
I assume that the only thing left for them to do with Trump was assassinate him. I literally
I didn't think that. I really didn't think that it would get to that level of stupidity. You know, because maybe I have too much of a high hope for my fellow man. That's my weakness. That's
that Marine shit. That's the Marine shit.
It's just that idealism. But I remembered of the words of my grandpa. Says like, no, history repeats and rhymes. Might be the first time for you, but it's not the first time I've seen it. And trust me on it, you'll see this again. So it always repeats. Everything comes in bunches. There's a rhythm and rhyme to how societies and empires rise and fall. And with Trump now, it is inevitable now at this point that he is going to win this election, to where now you have people saying to Biden, hey, drop out, because he conveniently got COVID. I don't know if you knew that. He didn't mask up and didn't get his 4,500 booster shot.
You mean a saline shot? Because if he would have got more than one booster, he'd be dead by now. I can guarantee that. That boy is fresh. Did you see him climbing up the steps of Air Force One? Oh my God. It was miserable. Now, I want to show you. I want to talk about, hold on. We're going to talk about this So did you hear about what happened with Morning Joe? I thought it was rumor at first, but it turned out to be true. So they decided to turn. They decided on Monday we're not going to air Morning Joe. Now it seemed to be perfectly clear to all of us because that's what the news said. Is they were like, "Yo, we can't trust this man not to say something stupid. So what we're going to do is we're not going to air him." Now apparently we found out that Joe got told a whole different story.
Oh, poor Joe.
I don't even know why he told anybody this, but it's hilarious. Let's check this out and get your reaction to it.
I wanted to briefly talk to our friends and viewers that watch us every day, and talk about what happened yesterday. We were told in no uncertain terms on the Sunday evening that there was going to be one news feed across all NBC News channels yesterday. The Today Show would be Lester Holt, other people that you worked with on Sunday, and that was going to be one news feed across all NBC News channels, that we were going to stay as a network in breaking news mode throughout all day yesterday. That did not happen. We don't know why that didn't happen, or team was not given a good answer as to why that didn't happen, but it didn't happen. We also told it was going to happen throughout the day. And I guess after there was such a strong blowback about yesterday morning, I guess they changed their plans. And so those plans changed as well. So it didn't. We've talked about it off the air. We'll talk about it on the air because we talk about everything on the air. We were very surprised. We were very disappointed. And if we had known that there wasn't going to be the one news feed from NBC News across all NBC News channels, Willie, we obviously would have been in yesterday morning.
No. Yeah, I was here up early on Sunday morning with NBC's coverage, Savannah and I.
So let me just say, first of all,
okay,
the fact that they are really having this whole conversation, they sound so sad. Like, man, you really did this, but they lied to us, man. I'm sorry, guys.
There's a couple of breakdowns here. First of all, the initial opening 5 seconds where Joe Scarborough says to our friends and viewers, first of all, you ain't got no friends. Nobody wants to be your friend, Joe. Okay. Number two, okay, that was mean. That was mean. But number two, also, look, you know what this says to me as someone who's been doing this business now for 7 years. You've been doing this a longer, like 9 years now, going on to 10. Yeah, 2 more years, give or take. And the thing is, you know what this says to us? It says, hey, they finally know the taste of censorship. But also, number two, it tells me that their babysitters, aka their handlers, don't trust them to run their show effectively without it becoming a bomb, a huge explosion that will blow up in the face of MSNBC, because it wasn't too long ago, way back in 2016, where Morning Blow was slobbering on Donald Trump. People forget that he was all on board with the Trump train way back in 2016, only now to again remember that he was with the liberal sphere of MSNBC. And now Joe kept on constantly calling Trump Hitler 2.0, Hitler 2.0. The last thing MSNBC would want is somebody like Morning Joe saying something that's going to cost them advertisers, because this is, again, something that was unheard of, like President Trump being shot and assassinated, and with the amount of support he was getting, there's going to be a huge reset in regards to how MSNBC and CNN is going to be covering this, because
they've been damn near openly threatening him. I like you talk about whenever what's her name, what's that actress that isn't actually funny? There's a lot of liberals who think they're funny. They call themselves comedians. Apparently,
which one?
The one that held the bloody Trump head. What's her name?
Cassie Griffin.
Yeah. Like, you got that. You got, like, literally the rhetoric that liberals, and then specifically liberal media, had been engaging in is like they were treating Trump as an enemy of the state, and like Chairman O'Malley said, like almost as if he should be dealt with, and it's in whatever way you need to. And there was another. I'm gonna see if I can find the clip, but there was another journalist that said that Trump's like the MAGA people, Trump himself, they're partially responsible for what happened to Trump. Yeah, there was somebody who said that. So it's it's not surprising to me that, because those are just random. Those are like random people, random journalists who don't have the audience that Joe has. Joe wakes up every day trying to stir some shit.
Well, the thing is, you know, we've seen people we respect suffer from Trump derangement syndrome, and people lose their ability to think critically. And MSNBC and CNN have contributed to the propaganda and the fear mongering and giving people have Trump derangement syndrome. And look, I've said the story before.
He was a traitor to his country for like 5 or 6 years.
Exactly, but the thing is, like, myself and Daniel, like, this was after, I think. No, this was after 2016, because we both went to 2 separate parties, and we both more or less ran into a person that suffered from extreme Trump derangement syndrome. I'm just going to speak about my experience. I was at a college. I was with some friends I graduated college with, and there was a person there. I don't know who they were. They were a friend of a friend of a friend, and it got the conversation of politics brought up. And as soon as I mentioned Donald Trump's name, their face turned out looked like that face of the meme from Dawson Creek, where they were like, please, when you say that name, it hurts me emotionally.
No.
I said, who? And I said, who? Donald Trump. And they made the Dawson Creek. I swear.
I would have walked away. I can't deal with that.
I was shocked because I never saw anybody, a grown adult, older than me, by the way, break down because I said a person's name, Donald Trump. And there are people out there, a vast majority of people who are not mentally well, who hinge on this whole idea that Trump is going to destroy our democracy. Newsflash: we don't have a democracy. We have a constitutional republic. And but by the way, we're not even a constitutional republic.
No. That would insinuate that the republic gets to be choosing democracy like that. We're because it's a representative republic. Mm-hmm. But who's representing us? Because you got to think about it. At one point, we used to all have to vote for delegates, and then the delegates would then vote. So what would happen is we vote for delegates for each small precinct. Then those delegates would vote on issues that Congress was supposed to be voting on in the near future. And then Congress would then be told that your congressman for that state or your senator for that state would be told to vote in the way that the delegates voted. And you could have confidence that is what the people wanted because the people voted for those delegates. And it's not like you're talking about small precincts. So that's not how it works anymore. Congress just kind of does what the hell they want to, and you never really know about what's going on because that delegate process has been changed from state to state on purpose. It's not the same. I think California still uses the delegate process. Some states do, but by and large, most of the states, what made us a democratic republic no longer exists, is what I'm saying. So it's like when people say he's a threat to democracy, he's going to destroy democracy. Sir, we don't have one. I don't know why y'all keep saying that. We do. It's gone. Y'all literally said, does nobody remember whenever they were like, there's no primary? And we're like, well, yeah, there is. There's technically a primary. There are people running. No. What we're telling you is there is no primary. And oh, by the way, if you even because they keep saying that voters selected Biden, and that's why he's so conflicted about removing himself from the race. That's not what happened. What you said was, if anybody runs, we're going to punish you. Yep. If New Hampshire has the audacity to try to go first as the first primary state, we're going to punish them. If you try to hold a debate, we're not going to hold any primary debates, even though we're claiming that we're holding a primary. If you even try to think about doing an unsanctioned debate, you will then forfeit all of your delegates when you get to the election. So, no, you don't have a democracy. So I don't know how you save democracy by destroying democracy.
Well, these are immature idiots. The quote Jimmy Dore when he said, "Thank you, God, for giving me dumb enemies." We have stupid enemies too. And I'm quoting my grandpa here. No one can do you in like you can do yourself in. And this is what the Democratic Party has done. But we have warned them. See, I am feasting on their collapse and corporate media's collapse, and I'm being a prick about it. I'm being a sore winner, and it's not good. It's like, geez, kid, can you take it easy? No, I can't. Niko, how many times have we both been called fascists or racist or all the time, all these issues because liberals are saying we didn't fall in line behind the Democrat nominee?
Speaking of which, hold on. We got to finish this clip because it gets funnier. This clip actually gets funnier.
led the coverage on Sunday in the immediate aftermath, talking to eyewitnesses, talking to officials about what happened. Obviously suited up and ready to go for yesterday morning on a big morning, and we're told that something else was going to be broadcast. So we are here today going through a lot, catching up a little bit, but we want to be here for our audience, and we know you trust us, and we have ultimate respect for you guys. So we are here today. I wish we'd been here yesterday.
Yeah, we all wish we would have been here yesterday. We still would like to figure out exactly why there wasn't that one news feed.
And I think the reason why is this show began and continues 17 years later on being the place where you can go to have the hard conversations in a civil way. And so it seemed like now more than ever is a time that we would like to be on. And I think our viewers agree with that. So we continue. We are 5 minutes past the top of the hour.
No, and let me just say, next time we're told there's going to be a news feed replacing us, we will be in our chairs.
We'll be sitting here.
Yeah, and the news feed will be us, or they can get somebody else
be sitting here.
to host the show.
Yeah,
No,
literally, he just
don't
threatened to
say
quit.
that.
Yeah, boy, that's some audacity, boy. Hey, look. First of all, okay, the fuck, like MSNBC is having like historically low numbers. I don't know why the hell they think that you don't have that much power, Joe. I don't know if you think that you do, but that the fact that they're acting. No, they were censored basically for the first time. That's effectively what just happened. They were censored, and what's even more hilarious is much like has happened to many of us independent journalists in the past. Not only were they censored, but they were lied to about why they were censored.
Oh, beautiful. I'm feasting on it because it's like that infamous meme. First time as we're all being hanged. First time being hanged up here. Hey, this is my ninth. Hey, I once you go through it 9 times, it's a lot of fun. I know you've been through the ringer too, Niko, because this is pure gold because he said something so stupid. And I love the look of Mika at the end because she's like, realized, what'd you say?
Right, nah, motherfucker.
Like,
you can go. I got
quit. Yeah, no, we have bills to pay. You don't say that because guess what? At one point, Bill O'Reilly thought he was the cat's meow and then went away. Same thing. Keith Olbermann. Now he's reduced to a screaming man in his apartment. I feel sorry for his neighbors. Okay. That's who I feel sorry for, his neighbors. But now, whoa, wait. Morning Blow. Are you telling me that you're not replaceable? Because you are. You are replaceable. All you pundits are replaceable. Your egos are fed because you're given that nice paycheck. But see, the thing is, all these pundits, they're as replaceable as anyone who works at retail. How do I know that? Because I worked in retail. I worked at Bed Bath & Beyond. I worked at Costco. And guess what? Hey, you could be replaced, Morning Blow. You're not that special. You're special because they tell you you're special until you're not. And that's funny to me. Hard-hitting conversations. This is the same platform where Morning Blow had to correct Donnie Douchebag because Douchebag was going to say in 2020, oh, if Bernie's the nominee, I'm going to support Trump. Like, oh, really?
Oh,
you got that. Yeah, I know. There's a lot that people forgot about Morning Blow. Mika, blink twice if you need help.
Hey, look, look. So Kit has the disposition to sit through this BS on mainstream media for y'all every day. I don't got it. Y'all get about 2 days a week that I'll look at it because I'll be wanting to shoot myself in the head because it's horrible. And you look at like the audacity of this man. He just literally went on. He just went on air live and he has producers that he could talk to. He could have asked them why before the show went live. There's production meetings. There's whole conversations that you have before you do these type of shows, guys, in case you didn't know. He could have talked about it then, but no, he decided to throw a goddamn temper tantrum in front of the whole world. And I might say it was fucking hilarious. I thoroughly enjoyed it because the audacity for you to think that anyone cares is that you quit. Like Kid said, all you do is repeat whatever lie they tell you to repeat. They can literally get Joy Behar to sit in your chair and do the exact same goddamn thing. In fact, there's already a show that does it. They can pay somebody else millions of dollars to lie and be wrong consistently, Joe. I don't know why you think otherwise. Let me get to these super chats really quick. Roger Meadows, thank you for the super chat. What year did the DNC fraud lawsuit conclude? I think it was 2020. It was the year that Joe Biden won. Sure, it was not a coincidence. Almost Alkaline, thank you very much for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. I'm not sure if there was supposed to be something attached to it, but I'll look out for it if there was. I wanted to also So I've actually been on this Piers Morgan obsession kick lately because he's just an idiot. But I there's one person that I might despise more than Piers Morgan because I'm like always curious as to like this human psychology of making the dumbest people in the world the most famous, right? Because I feel like it's a poor reflection of humanity. And it turns out that there is somebody more despicable than Piers Morgan, and that is Destiny. So first of all, we're gonna check out this video. Just a clip of one of his streams that he did recently, talking about the Trump supporter who unfortunately lost his life at that rally.
Fuck the dude, the firefighter guy. Fuck Trump. Fuck the people that support him. I just want you to know, okay? Just in case you're confused or it seems like I'm, whatever. If one of you were in the crowd and you're a conservative fan of mine and you end up, getting blown away or whatever the fuck, I'm making fun of you the next day on Twitter. I am 100%.
Bruh, dog, I couldn't believe. I mean, he's gone on a tear on Twitter since then. But Piers Morgan invited him on, and I couldn't believe it. But Piers showed some sense of humanity, despite the fact that he often would probably disagree with Trump. So let me go ahead and pull up what Piers.
By the way, condolences to the family. No one. I don't care where you stand politically should deserve to be hurt or maimed or die. Okay,
because of who you support. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I know some Trump supporters. Guess what? I know some libertarians and Greens and socialists. I don't want anything bad happen to anybody. And if that's a bridge too far for a lot of people, then I can't help you because I was surprised he was going out there to say that. But geez, Destiny, you found a deep pit to go down. Good luck climbing out.
Yeah, because when Piers Morgan makes you like it looks like more humanistic, like he shows more empathy and sympathy towards somebody that he disagrees with than you do, that takes a lot because Piers is kind of a piece of shit. So let's check it out.
Where conservatives can say anything.
No, I'm not a conservative.
They can have any conspiracy theory.
I'm not a conservative.
They can have any, but they can do any of these, and then liberals are.
And I want to be clear about that. I don't agree with that because let's be real. We just watched the whole last maybe 8 years of liberals literally doing what the fuck they want to. I mean, you talked about Terry Reid coming back to the States only recently, and there's a reason for that, which we'll get into in a second. So let's not talk about who y'all can. We watch liberals put a segregationist sex pest in power and then get applauded for it. We watched Bill Clinton after being implicated in the Epstein list and papers and multiple court cases. Not only is he forgiven, but he's actually being featured. He was featured at the Democratic National Convention in 2020 after, right? AOC still remains a superstar after acknowledging what happened to Tara Reid, but says, I still think it's best we vote for Biden anyway. So I don't want to hear that fucking argument, my guy. Okay, just saying.
Yeah. They're supposed to sit and be like, oh my God, it's so tragic.
No, Destiny.
Absolutely not.
Let me explain.
Absolutely.
Let me explain my position because I'm not a conservative. I'm not on either side in your race, right? Here's what I think about what you did. You'd like to fire off, as you've done so far in this debate, about your fury at how disgusting Republicans are, how inhumane they are, how they.
Oh, that's my fault.
Person that you're describing, you are inhuman. You yourself actually are exactly the person that you're describing. You are inhuman. You are somebody who seems almost gleeful that a young firefighter with a family, with a wife and children, who he was protecting as he was shot dead, that he deserved what was coming to him because he went to a President Trump rally, a man who was president of the United States until recently for 4 years and maybe again. You sound almost gleeful, Destin, and I'm sorry. That makes you, frankly, despicable.
Wow.
I don't think I'm gleeful about anything. I don't think anybody should die. I don't think anybody deserves to die. But
that's not what you said. That's not what you said, sir. Sir, there was a 15, 20-second video played before this. That's not what you said, Destiny.
It's worse. That's what's crazy. That's 20 seconds out of it. So it was worse than that.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's not like I'm gleeful, bro. Do y'all want to just go through his Twitter thread? We don't even got to watch the rest of this video. We can just go to his goddamn Twitter thread. And we just go and just randomly look up Destiny's Twitter thread. And I'm going to show y'all how not gleeful he's been. Because I don't want him to look like a liar if he's not one. But I'm just gonna scroll down for like this. What's happened over the last couple of days?
And by the way, listen, we're both in this business, and this man has accumulated millions of followers. Which, hey, look, okay, fine, you built a very large platform, but you have kicking you off, and it takes a lot to get banned off a Kick, and it takes a lot for someone to get demonetized off of Twitter. And the fact that you are willing to do this self-harm not only to your network and your brand, but it says a lot that Destiny as a commentator isn't that serious, because he's systematically saying that he's happy that something happened to the people who are there supporting Trump. You were saying these words. You said those words, and it's the thing is, say that to their families' faces, because it could have gotten a whole lot worse. And I'm pretty sure if the roles were reversed, if something happened to Biden, Destiny would be foaming at the mouth.
Yeah. So, oh no, this isn't it. Hold on. It basically, this man has gone on. This is him just trying to justify something. The stuff that he's been saying, by the way. For every MAGA that was giggling along with my edgy Palestinian tweets, no, you literally were cheering for genocide. There was nothing edgy about those tweets. But for every MAGA that was giggling along with my edgy Palestinian tweets, I hope you realize every single Palestinian civilian that gets bombed and killed in Gaza is worth 100 times more respect than any loser who gets wasted at a Trump rally.
Oh my God.
Be selective with your laughs now. This is what Destiny said. This is just one, like I said, giddy. I don't know. What would you describe that as?
I'd say it's sociopathic. I say to this guy, he's either drinking too much Red Bull, or he's taking Adderall with his Red Bull, or either that there is something severely wrong with him. Maybe this is what happens to a person who allows himself to get cucked as he watches his wife get banged by other men. I'll never forget that.
Actually, kid, he says right here that I would rather watch my wife get railed 10,000 times over than betray family in Ukraine by throwing them under the bus to win an internet debate. You coward. Spineless. Actually, that's exactly. You're
already watching your wife get banged. Hell, I saw Abba from Abba and Preach. He was on one of Destiny's live streams a while ago, and he's dancing. And here, hold on, wait. Here's Destiny's face as it was happening. You could see his soul leaving his body.
Yeah, because that ain't where the dancing stopped. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Also, just for everybody to know, speaking of throwing your family under the bus, y'all do know Destiny is actually Latino. He's
really?
Cuban. Yeah.
No,
he's literally half Cuban. I'm dead ass serious. He's half Cuban.
I never knew this. Holy cow.
He does a pretty damn good job hiding it until he can go bring it out to weaponize him. Like, no, I can't be racist. I'm half. He does the same thing that
he's very pale.
David Pakman does. David Pakman, if you ever call him out on his fucking ridiculously racist rhetoric, he will say, "I'm Argentinian." I'm like, bro, you are white. First of all, like, and that's the worst. If you're gonna try to not like pick a Latin American country to prove that you're not racist, that is the worst one. Because the one that used to be like 90% indigenous and black, and now it's like 1% because all y'all wiped them out. So like, maybe Argentinian ain't the best place to go. But my point is that this man has been so vitriolic on Twitter and in his streams. And at first, I thought it was like him I thought he was genuinely joking at first. I thought it was like maybe him just being edgy and dumb. But then he actually went and doubled down and doubled down and doubled down. And then goes on Piers Morgan and doubles down again and be like, well, no, I wasn't actually giddy. Like, that's your biggest rebuttal? That is your strongest rebuttal, is I wasn't giddy about cheering for the deaths of MAGA people?
No, he was. And again, look, there's a recent report that came out, that I believe the Lancet report, if I said it wrong, I apologize, where there's 186 and maybe potentially 200,000, let's be clear, the number is probably going to be a lot higher, dead Palestinian men, women, and children, no matter what age they are. Those are people. Then that's technically, right now as it stands, the number will probably rise up. 7% of the population of the Gaza enclave right there. That's 7% of the population. So in other words, Destiny, when you say, okay, you're equating that all the dead Palestinian people there are worth more than any Trump supporter. What you're telling me is that you value human lives and death so little that you're willing to make any kind of trivial argument just for you to have this quote unquote moral high ground. I don't want to see anybody
Human
die.
lives are valued based on whether or not he can use them to win an argument. That's the value of life.
And the thing is, like, look, hey, look, just to trigger destiny. Look, I'm going to quote Donald Trump at that CNN town hall. I want people to stop dying, okay? I want people to stop dying. And when I say that, I have a little more investment into it because we've seen this over and over again. And yet here he is, this guy laughing about it, laughing about people dying. You know, that was a firefighter. What did he do? He shielded his family from an attack, and it cost him his life. I'm so sorry that family is going through that. All right. It is difficult to lose a loved one. You have lost people, Niko. I have lost people. And it is, and it's a pain that will never, ever going away. And knowing that it was an attack and that it was on purpose,
preventable,
malicious, and it could have been prevented. Yeah, if
that's the crazy shit. It could have. It should have been prevented.
The security should have done its job. The security should have done its job. But you know, the Secret Service. Let's face it. It's part of the establishment. And if they're given their marching orders, follow the orders, then they will follow the orders because all that was preventable. And now that pain that family has to deal with it. And then there's this Jagoff Destiny with his millions of followers saying, "Oh, I'm happy that happened. I'm happy that happened."
How? And then we got to call himself being better than it. Well, his argument is so bizarre, bro. It's, oh man, conservatives get to say whatever they want to, but I can't. It's like, so you want to be a conservative? That's your argument? It's like, no, what happened? You could tell somebody like Destiny. First of all, he called himself a leftist or a liberal, whatever. But he's not.
He's nothing.
He's nothing. What people have to understand about Destiny is Destiny was famous for gaming. That's all he was famous for. At some point, he argued the dumbest internet debate bros on the right who like are no better at debating than he is, and became famous for being a dumb guy who was slightly smarter than the stupider people he was debating, which is super easy to do. But the reality of the situation is he was a gamer nerd who had no friends outside of his gamer network, and then he became famous. And that, by the way, a lot of these debate bros started out like that. A lot of people don't know that. And then at one point, that somehow transitioned into actual fame because that's just how life works, and he was fortunate enough to benefit from that. Now, I need for y'all to understand something. That man hates himself. I've met Destiny. Destiny is all of about 5 foot fucking 4 inches tall. Really? He's one of those guys whose arms is like he somehow has a beer gut a little bit, but he's still skinny as hell, and he doesn't really take care of himself at all. And people know him because he's Destiny, but when you actually meet him in person, dude hides off in the corner because he doesn't actually want to. All that shit he talks like out, he bigs up his chest and likes to talk over people whenever he's debating them online. I've seen him in front of those same people in person, and he's quiet as hell, off in the corner, scared to engage. Wow. Because that's literally I've witnessed it 2 or 3 times. Like so I debated him, and Fiorella debated him, and he was so upset by how the debate went that they won't invite me back anymore because he's intimidated by me and told them that he won't come back if I do.
Oh, wow.
So that's the kind of guy he is. I mean, he let his wife cuck him out, and then she immediately, like, you gave her what she wanted, and she still left you.
Oh, yeah. And it's funny. That's funny because he doesn't respect himself, so he lets people walk all over him. So what I'm hearing is he's basically that little dog in the yard that yaps, but as soon as you walk in, it's like, oh I'm going to hide in the corner now. Wow.
Yep, that's exactly it. Exactly. Penny Arcos, Mexico, 40 judges will be elected by citizens. Hold up, really? Is that are you saying that's going to happen? That would be because judges technically in the states are elected, but it's the district judges. It's not the federal judges. So I don't know if you're saying that's something that's in the works, because that would be interesting to see. Jason Bourne, thank you very, very much for your super chat, my man. Niko, do you think President Trump's running mate is a good fit or a Zionist shill? No, he's definitely a Zionist shill. I mean, good fit. I don't know, but Zionist shill, 100%. After all, he definitely wants all the smoke with Iran. So what's crazy about him is, so yes, he's a Zionist shill, even though he doesn't want to fund Ukraine. So that's actually, I guess, a check in the box, like for Trump, like for what he's trying to achieve. But for him to seemingly instigate controversy with Iran, and now he is actually mirroring the narrative being put out by the intelligence community all of a sudden, That doesn't bode well for Trump. Because like, why would you even like because Trump actually hasn't really talked about Iran like that since the debate. He hasn't mentioned them much in conversation. It's been because it's been mostly focused, obviously, on Russia and Ukraine, and at times Israel, but principally Russia and Ukraine. So why would this guy, out of nowhere, decide to start beef and instigate problems with the future president of the United States and a country of the whose leader Trump was at least complicit in assassinating out of nowhere, which is the same narrative that the intelligence community does. That, like, I feel like this is just young Pence, basically. Maybe a little bit more populist by the right standards, but he's young Pence. I don't feel like Trump selected him. I feel like somebody, they said, you saw how close that bullet got, didn't you? The next guy we get won't be a 20-year-old who didn't make the rifle team.
As regards for Trump's pick, I'm not really expecting much from his administration, because the last time Trump had an administration, he put in people of the Bush-Cheney administration in there. And I'm pretty sure all the people who walked in there thought that they were going to get like the same situation, such as the way Cheney was handling Bush Jr. And so when you have people like that surrounding you, they're going to think you're biddable. And so that is the unfortunate consequence with Trump. He's really bad at selecting people, I think, in many ways. He selects a lot of yes men. And
yes, he does.
So
I'm trying to figure out what happened to my camera. You keep talking about it.
Okay, no problem. I'll go ahead and do a quick little filibuster. So listen, folks, you're watching Niko House's channel. If you haven't hit that like button, please do so. Niko House is one of the leading members of the independent media community. He has done many groundbreaking work investigating stories on the ground, as well as doing hard-hitting interviews and doing outstanding live streams, so that you, the viewing audience, are not only informed, but empowered to make a better future. So if you're not subscribed, please double check you're still subscribed. Hit that like button, share his content on social media as you should, and follow him on all of his social media platforms, because now more than ever, we need a voice for the voiceless. So that's Niko House. And why? Because a long time ago, we were inspired by the work that Niko House was doing, and that's how Hard Lens Media got around. In fact, little short story, first time I met Niko House was at the People Summit in 2017 here in Chicago. We didn't speak, but I did want to interview him, but it didn't happen because he was always interviewing somebody else, and there was always something going on. But we did walk past each other a few times, Niko. I don't know if you remember the People Summit, but I do.
Crazy.
Yeah,
the People Summit was crazy. Hold up, man. Look, that's a throwback right there. People Summit was crazy.
Yeah.
That was actually, believe it or not, one of my favorite. Hold on,
there you go. You're back. You're back.
My favorite events, and it's so sad, like where we're at right now comparatively. But like that was actually one of my favorite.
Yeah,
that was actually one of my favorite like events. Just meeting people and networking, and I got to see who was real too.
I was trying to interview, but anytime I saw you, you were already interviewing somebody else, and me and Daniel were trying to get like 10, 15 interviews going on at the time. So that was when we were on radio. So we weren't even on YouTube yet. We were still on radio, and we were on.
Right. I was trying. Look, I promise you, I was trying, kid. Like that was during the height of the DNC fraud lawsuit. So every 5 minutes, somebody was trying to interview me. And Liz and Jared don't like public places, so that was the only guy. But I appreciate it. So there is some controversy right now within the Democratic Party, and it's looking more and more like the conspiracy theorists are going to be proven right once again, people, because we said you were one. I think you were on the same team when we were like, "Yo, Biden gonna be replaced." Yeah. People were like, "That's impossible. That's not gonna happen." I was like, "Nope. I know how the Democratic Party works. Trust me. If anybody knows how quick a motherfucker can be replaced by the Democratic Party, it is me." And I want to show you really quick. First of all, this video of Van Jones and what he said about the Democrats and how they're handling their Democratic primary and embracing their candidate versus Republicans and how they're embracing Trump.
A bullet couldn't stop Trump. A virus just stopped Biden. You got the nominees of this party getting their butts kissed. Biden's getting his butt kicked by his own party. The Democrats are coming apart. The Republicans are coming together.
Bruh. You know how long he's been not wanting to say that?
Oh no, they all knew they had to say it, but none of them wanted to because they were afraid of losing that paycheck.
That exactly. But well, I don't know, man, because you know Van Jones has said some let's just say suspect things. You know, he's a beautiful man. I don't know why he said that. He's a lovely man. He's a beautiful man. I love him. I'm like, bro, Van Jones' wife about to make some phone calls if this don't slow down, because it's getting a little bit. We got it, man. You like Joe Biden. I don't know what he did to you in Brokeback Mountain, but you need to chill out. So this is Schiff, right? So this is a conversation that Schiff had just 4 months ago, if I'm not mistaken. It was a public show of criticizing Robert Hur for including Biden's poor mental state in his report. If y'all don't remember, like whenever Biden was supposed to testify, they were like, he can't because he's dumb and he's mentally incapacitated, which is wild. But this is what Schiff said just 4 months ago.
Rules, Mr. Hur, what is in the rules is you don't gratuitously do things to prejudice the subject of an investigation when you're declining to prosecute. You don't gratuitously add language that you know will be useful in a political campaign. You were not born yesterday. You understood exactly what you were doing. It was a choice. You certainly didn't have to include that language. You could have said vis-a-vis the documents that were found at the university, the president did not recall. There is nothing more common. You know this, I know this. There is nothing more common with a witness of any age when asked about events that are years old to say, I do not recall. Indeed, they're instructed by their attorney to do that if they have any question about it. You understood that. You made a choice. That was a political choice. It was the wrong choice. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Okay, wow. So that was Adam Schiff about he was firm in that stance. He was like, that's not fair. You shouldn't have did that. But things, you know, life comes at you fast because this is how Schiff feels now, man. So Adam Schiff has made a shift.
Hold on here.
Biden to drop out, citing serious concerns that he can't win.
Well, first of all, hold on. I have to use my favorite quote from Succession, Logan Roy, what he says, and I'm going to say this to the liberals, I'm going to say this to the Democrats. I love you, but you are not serious people. This is too little too late. We have been doing this business now for a very long time, covering politics. Okay. And the whole idea of being effective in politics is having a strong ground game and an effective strategy for your team to win. Once July passes, you have August, September, October. What miracle can you pull out in 3 months?
They do always call it the October surprise, and the October surprise might end up it might be a casket if we keep it in a band.
God forbid that happens. But the problem is Democrat. We said
don't forbid it. Don't ask God to forbid that. I'm not really against. Look, the Lord doing His work. Do what you need to do. Jesus is why I'm just. It's because I'm enjoying the show. But go ahead.
No, but what it is, what this is though, is our opponents are not smart. These Democratic insiders, these people who censored your channel, my channel, and a lot of our colleagues, they for a long time had the smug arrogance thing that they knew better, and their whole lie is falling apart. The media lie, because now the media has to find out how they can present their new lie to the American people as everything starts falling apart. Because when you confront a liar, what do? They panic and they tell another lie and another lie and another lie. Because if their lie, let's say it was a good lie and it lasted for 8 years or 10 years, however long you want to say it's going to last, as soon as it falls apart, they have no plan to do a cover-up for their next lie, and it's all crumbling down. The Democrats, all these people that we respected at one point, Bernie Sanders, AOC, all these quote-unquote progressive heavyweight champions that went to bat for Biden are now swimming in crap. And now I'm getting like 10 text messages.
You fucking started about the fact that Adam Schiff had the balls to come out against Biden before Bernie fucking and AOC and Camilla Jaffe. Are you kidding me?
They're not going to do that. Bro. They're not going to do that because they're not fighters, number one. They never were who they said they were. They wasted people's time, energy, and money. And the fact that these Democrats now are wondering, what do we do at the convention? What do we do at the convention? You have no plan. No matter what scenario you do, Democrats, you're going to lose. But we said that this was going to happen. I said this was going to happen. You said this was going to happen. We all were correct. And now I'm getting text messages. Oh, please, Kit, will you stand with Biden? Kamala's ready to step up. Will you stand with the Democrats? Kit, Trump is ahead of the polls.
Biden and Biden can't stand up. How am I going to stand with Biden?
No. Here's what I'm saying to these liberals. Here's what I'm saying to these Democrats who talked down to us, who bullied us, who bullied our audiences, who trolled us. Beg me harder. I don't think you want me to vote for Biden hard enough. Beg me harder. I need to see you bow your hand, hold out your hand, bow your head, hold out your hand, bend your knee, beg. And it doesn't sound like you're begging hard enough. I mean, really
don't be Kid girlfriend, boy. Y'all know what y'all get if you get. Don't be wrong and be Kid girlfriend. You said,
I would do that.
I did what? You said I'm right. I don't know. Can you say that again in about 3 more languages?
Say it again. Say again. Say again.
Yeah, no,
Get in my way.
I 100% agree. Oh, real quick, I'm trying to squish. Yo, what's you talking about? Destiny's wife? She is on Instagram. You can follow her on Instagram.
Roger.
It sounds like she responds to DMs too. Is all I'm saying. Roger,
man. Hey, have fun, buddy. Good honey.
Hey, somebody have fun. Destiny's probably the only person not having fun.
Niko, Destiny's girl. That's everybody. That's our girl.
That's our girl.
That's our girl.
That's your girl, minus the wild boy. That's what. Oh, Sentient Dreamer, thank you very much, man. Last night on YouTube, Chris Martinson said Truth Social had millions of stocks shorted weeks before the attempt. Mysterious Niko. Oh yeah. I haven't. I mean, that's like I'm gonna do a whole different show about that, but I can speak on it a little bit, really quick because of who. So if you short a stock, basically you're betting on it to drop, and then you're selling it to somebody, and then you buy the stock back, and you get a profit. Like that's the long and short of it. It's finance jargon. I want to get into it, but basically, you don't short a stock unless it's going to fall, and you goddamn sure don't short a stock by millions, especially when the principal owner of this share of this stock, is Donald Trump. It's his social media company, and he is on a fucking the run of a lifetime as a presidential candidate. And you short the stock the day before. And what's crazy about it is apparently the institution that shorted the stock the most, the two of their principal investors are BlackRock and Vanguard. So everybody keeps y'all calling me crazy about that. I did I'm sure you saw my hotspot video about BlackRock. I did more of a deep dive on it on my live show the other day. But like, I don't know why y'all are acting like. And BlackRock, by the way, what's his name? Larry Fink. What's his name?
Yeah,
is it Harry Fink or Larry Fink? Yeah. He's a lifelong Democrat as it is.
Yeah.
So that it don't take no for. I'm sure for him, that's nothing. Like he don't even like Trump most likely. So and he's you seen him in the videos with shaking hands and rubbing elbows with Zelensky. Like Trump is not consistent enough for a man and a company that has over $20 trillion in assets that are principally based in commodities and real estate. Right? Is instability in real estate. That's basically what BlackRock does. When they went and bought up all these houses after the pandemic, how could they do it? Because people lost jobs because of the instability. The BlackRock, I mean, he's not a snitch because he didn't know he was doing it. But whenever, Project Veritas, whenever Project Veritas interviewed that BlackRock recruiter, what did he say? Oh, BlackRock is profiting like a motherfucker off this war in Ukraine because of the instability there. Because you can short stocks, buy them back, and then sell them whenever. So the fact that this particular company shorted, and then the excuse that they use, Jason Goodman actually calls him, right, from Crowdsource the Truth, calls him, 3-minute conversation. He says, hey, man, so you got an explanation for why this is? Like millions of dollars that y'all shorted the day before Trump, almost died? You don't got an explanation for that? He said, it was a clerical error, man.
I talked about this on the show earlier this morning. A clerical error. So somehow you shorted. Oh my goodness, that cleric. You are Clerk, you are fired.
Yeah, that was the worst.
You're not fired. Just look sad. We'll give you like $100,000. Just look sad. Look sad.
Bro.
Oh, it's a clerical error. How does that
Bro.
happen?
Do you know, bro, if you decide to trade on E-Trade, or you know how many times you have to verify if you do like a trade over $1,000, for example, like the higher you go for trades and shorts and things like that, there are a lot of verification process. You sure you want to do this? Now imagine doing a short, because shorts are high risk. It is a high risk maneuver. And to be completely real, it is usually some insider trading bullshit. Somebody gets information that you couldn't possibly get, and that's why only the major companies with all the access and the network and finance usually engage in shorting to that degree. Now, to short millions accidentally in the middle of what one would assume and presume to be a huge climb in a stock, because once again, Truth Social is Trump's baby, and Trump is going crazy in the polls and getting more television appearances. Hell, I've never seen screenshots from Truth Social posted more on Twitter than recently. And you decided the day before to short, and it was a clerical error.
And yo, like
what kind of clerical error? How many times did your cat sit on the fucking keyboard, kid?
I know.
And it sounded zero.
I know what happened. I know what happened. Not only did the cat sit on the keyboard, nobody had their morning coffee. Everybody was just exhausted, stressed. And you know, they got a phone call from somebody like, "Hey, do you want to short this?" And we're like, "Oh yeah, sure, we'll do it." And it's like, "Are you sure?" And like, "Yeah." And it was all one big accident. And I'm pretty sure the next time this won't happen, because there's nothing.
So the cat sat on the keyboard, didn't get up, and then his tail hit enter.
Yep.
And then confirmed the password.
Confirmed it. Yeah, the cat knew. The cat was running the show.
Somebody running the show.
Mr. Whiskers just knew what to do. It was a clerical error, and it's just a happy ABC 7 news segment. There we go.
That and once again, like I said, I'm gonna try to do a deep dive on that tomorrow if my kids let me. But if not tomorrow, it'll be Saturday. But the fact that BlackRock, first of all, the fact that BlackRock was in Bethel Park is bizarre. Because everybody's like, this commercial isn't that big of a deal in like, you know, in and of itself. Yeah, but kind of is, considering it was like at the 2020, it was like in 2022, right around the time the war in Ukraine started, which BlackRock is principally invested in. And by the way, the bank that, I don't know if you saw this part, Kit, but so there's a bank that Kiev is starting that BlackRock and JP Morgan are the principal investors in, and they basically hope to have at least $1 billion in investments to reconstruct Ukraine after. Now, obviously, if Putin wins the war, because they're not going to get any more funding, I don't believe in Ukraine if Trump wins, at least not anywhere near to the degree that they were. And by the way, just as an aside, everybody keeps pointing to the fact that Trump gave money to Ukraine in 2019. I just want to give some context there, because I feel like y'all be forgetting. That's why you got to watch the show, so y'all know what time it is, and people don't just be quoting dumb shit without context. Context is important. Y'all forget that in 2019, Zelensky was working with Trump. Zelensky was working with Trump because they were working with the prosecutor of Ukraine to get out the corrupt officials and prosecute the corrupt officials that were put in by Biden, which is why Biden entered the race to begin with. And the moment he entered the race, he made sure to let everybody know, if anyone accuses me of the corruption that Trump is guilty of, it's only because I'm Trump's political opponent, and it's a political attack. And then they proceed to do what? Accuse Trump of, with this impeachment, of what Biden was actually guilty of. And we have the fucking video for it. Now, at the time, Zelensky was trying to ward off the Azov cronies, and which is why Trump gave him the weapons to try and do so. However, like everybody, like if you were paying attention to the whole Ukraine situation, you knew when Biden won, that shit was over. It was over. Those weapons that were given in 2019 was, thank you for cooperating so I can help take down Biden's people. That's not the same thing as giving weapons in 2022, 2023, 2024, when you're literally giving them to the Nazis those are weapons that were given to protect you from the Nazis that you're trying to help take down, that were empowered by the 2014 Maidan coup that was instituted by NATO and the United States. So I just want to go ahead and give context there. But my point is, it's kind of strange that BlackRock has the most to gain if Ukraine is successful and continues to go through this war. Not successful, because that definition of success in Ukraine varies greatly from Russia, but successful as in not blown off the map, right? They still have their name, Ukraine. NATO put some type of stronghold there to make sure that Russia doesn't completely take it over. And then they get all, that is what, there's a reason that they gave BlackRock all that money to, because it's 200 companies involved in this. And they gave BlackRock and JP Morgan this money to get to this bank. You know why you do that? Because when you know the US government is going to be fronting the money, it's what we call a slam dunk in the investment world. The problem is, there's now no guarantee that that is going to happen, because Trump already didn't really like NATO. That was already a thing before the Russia-Ukraine war started. Trump, he's probably because Zelensky kind of left him out to dry during this impeachment, and obviously everything that's happened since, he probably don't want to get involved in a losing situation. And Trump is a businessman at the end of the day. He sees where BRICS is going. Does he really want to piss off Putin, considering that he's basically the damn mafia boss of BRICS at this point? Probably not. So that means, as we speak, ladies and gentlemen, those investment groups are probably trying to cut their losses from BlackRock and JP Morgan, which means this, because this bank, if Putin negotiates, and when I say negotiate, I don't mean really negotiate. I mean, whenever this money gets pulled from Zelensky, there ain't gonna be no negotiation. Putin gonna say, give me that shit, give me that shit, give me all that. And that bank shit, yeah, we're not about to give money to the very entities who likely were behind paying the politicians to start this war. So BlackRock's name is all over this.
Yeah.
And now we found out that the company that shorted these stocks is like, they're part of BlackRock too, effectively part of BlackRock too.
You know, it's a little bit off topic. It's kind of related to this, but not quite. But when this war ends, and hopefully it ends soon, I am interested in the study of overall what this will do to the people of Ukraine. And I say this because, you know, a lot of the men are hiding now. And did you see the report where they're actually, like, you know, doing these online communities, like monitoring when the conscript guards are coming around, like so that they don't pick people up off the street. They're like, hey, they're showing up here. None of you guys show up. Damn. Or no, I have to find the video, but it's like, it was like 3 minutes long, 3 minutes, 50 seconds long. It was from the BBC. And it's like all these men who are trying not to get sent to the front line. Like, they're doing these online underground things. They're like, hey, they're going to show up at this time right here. Look out. Like, yeah, you got people looking out for each other, because going to the front line, you're dead. And I'm just wondering, because we're seeing a society where all the fighting age men are either dead or going to come back wounded, maimed, or mentally scarred with PTSD. What does that do to a society? You know, this is irreversible, and it's going to haunt Ukraine for generations to come. And how do you?
It's going to haunt, not just Ukraine. That's going to haunt because we're in the age of information now. We witnessed it, and this isn't like past wars where the damage that was done by allying yourself with the United States kind of gets swept under the rug. We witnessed this happen in real time. That means the way that other countries perceive that the United States could protect them if they were to ally with them in any given issue, that's completely changed. I mean, it was already changing, but like you said, generations of Ukrainian men have been wiped out. It's likely that Ukraine will not, if it's Ukraine, anything, it'll be Ukraine city, because the damn sure ain't gonna be the country of Ukraine by the time this is all said and done, the way it's looking. So it will completely reshape, like the society is going to be broken, but I just feel like, I mean, most Ukrainians speak Russian anyway. So in that regard, I feel like you're going to see almost a lot of Ukrainians almost disconnect from that identity, because you're associated with being cucked. You're associated with being fooled. You're associated with Americans are associated with a dumb president, but, and we get associated with being kind of assholes, but like, that's better than like you got associated into being, into jumping into your own genocide. Like, you jumped into the blender. Some happy to do so. because they thought that they were going to get accession into NATO, and that was long term, and NATO was going to then fight the war with them. Like that was never going to happen. But somebody convinced y'all of that shit. I don't know why y'all were convinced of this when they never let you in before.
It shouldn't have ever happened. And the thing is, what I also want to look into, hopefully there'll be a study on this. Thankfully, we have Unusual Whales on Twitter. Overall, the amount of financial success a lot of our congressmen and women, Democrat and Republicans, made at the initial stages of the war and after, because a lot of them have made huge financial killing, especially in 2022, where a lot of Democrats and Republicans, well, their portfolios were really brimming with that cash money. And folks, if you're not following Unusual Whales, you'll find out what your favorite congressman and woman's doing on the side to earn that extra money. They're not only twerking for that dollar bill from the donors, but they're also rigging the game and putting in cheat codes so they could short and buy and take all the stonks they want.
Yeah, because what they'll do is they'll give it to a group. You don't have to short. It's not like E-Trade. Like you give your money to a group, the group shorts. They let you know what they're doing, but then you end up making return on that investment. It's kind of bullshit, but I want to really quick, Kit, before we get up out of here, I just want to just expose some more corruption and hypocrisy, because people seem to think that hypocrisy runs, it's a one-way street, but it is absolutely not. Y'all should look at this. Yeah, there are people out there now. Y'all know lives of TikTok. One of the people who actually got famous, extremely famous on TikTok for being anti-cancel culture. She is now engaging in cancel culture.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a problem with this here. Okay. Look, conservatives, I know a lot of you have been canceled and been going through this shite. That doesn't mean you just take that moral high ground, do that to other people too, because this is how the back and forth is going to keep on going. It's going to be happening. And I know there's a lot of people want to cancel me, but guess what? I don't want to see anybody get canceled because I've gone through the rodeo 9 times. Okay. It is not a lot of fun. It is horrible. And there are people in this business, Niko, that you and I both know that went through far, far worse stuff than what we went through. Lives of TikTok. You should theoretically be better than this, but I guess
no, absolutely not.
Social
justice warriors on the right and social justice warriors on the left.
I know. But again, it's my idealism. It's my hope. I know my idealism always brings me down. I should have learned that lesson with Bernie Sanders, in 2020. My idealism is my weakness.
Yeah, no, I'm not. This is what I come to expect from these people now. Like when you get famous on trying to so Live to TikTok, for example, she takes these super extreme examples of the worst people who call themselves leftists and then pretends like that's the norm. Like all leftists think like this, act like this, behave in this manner, because she saw it on TikTok once. Like Ben Shapiro does, actually. It's kind of like the same form, but she just made it TikTok friendly. So she attracted a different audience. Then got famous for doing so. Why would anyone think when people say they are tired of cancel culture, what most of them are saying, that I'm tired of you all trying to hold me accountable for my actions and my stupidity. That's usually what they're saying. I'm against cancel culture because I'm a free speech absolutist. And also I feel like if somebody's ideas are dumb, just explain how their ideas are dumb. Don't fucking cancel them. Destiny got kicked off a Kick. I don't think he should have been kicked off. Nope. I think that the people that follow him should have been so just disgusted by his repugnant ideology and the shit that he said that they chose to leave and not follow him and not listen to him anymore. That shouldn't be Kick's responsibility. But at the end of the day, what these people are generally saying, though, whenever they say they don't want cancel culture, they're exclusively saying they don't want to be held responsible for saying dumb shit. And yet you got right here, Lives of TikTok. Attention, everybody in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Cabello, Honey, Southern Kitchen and Bar employees. This person was a very sad that the shooter missed. He also took his employment out of his bio. We just called and confirmed that he currently works there. And they got another woman in Home Depot fired. And do I agree with what he said? No, but people say dumb shit, edgy shit on Twitter all of the time, bro.
Exactly.
Dumber shit than this, actually.
Exactly. And you look, when you do something like this, especially going after somebody's livelihood and their whole life and image is on social media being presented in one kind of lens, you're going to build up some resentment and you're going to build up hatred, because now guess what? Anyone that's being canceled on the right by the social justice warriors on the right, you're going to, again, have a whole new batch of other people that will want to do the same and have absolute resentment. Why do you think people can't talk to each other anymore? Because everyone wants to one up. Everyone wants to defeat the other side. And this is not how we can really have good discourse in this country. It's only a recipe for disaster.
Also, like that person also probably wasn't trying to have good discourse. Like, I'm willing to admit that. He was competing. He was trying to get the dopamine hit off of getting the most likes, and that is what social media has become. That's what these algorithms have rewarded, rather.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get the most likes, that means you're the coolest, and you can go to sleep at night knowing that you got 150 likes over saying some dumb shit. And what's even scarier is the fact that you know that you will be rewarded for saying the most repugnant shit. That is what's scary. Like, look at what's happening with this. Destiny is famous at this point for saying, like, literally, he cheered on the genocide. I would assume that even as a liberal, because he called himself a liberal, even as a neoliberal, cheering for the genocide, and he's not Jewish, he's not even a Zionist. He just cheered for the genocide just to cheer for it, bro. That's literally how he felt. He said, I don't really know much about this, but I'm kind of cheering for the genocide at this point. That's what he said. And then because he already settled for that point and realized, oh man, this gave me a lot of engagement one way or the other because he gets paid regardless. He gets invited on to Piers Morgan, for example, for making horrible statements. Instead of being ignored for the shit that he says, he gets more popular. And then because of that level of popularity, he gets invited on to more popular programs. And so my point is, don't engage in cancel culture, just ignore them. Just ignore him. Nobody needs to take anybody off, because now, because Destiny's gotten taken off a kick, he's gotten more engagement on Twitter. He's being invited on to more shows to talk about his dumbass statements. And let's be honest, they're going to let him back on Kick.
Oh no, that's going to happen. Kick, of all the platforms, you really got to work hard to get permanently banned on Kick.
They let basically everybody back on Kick if they ban you. So my point is, he's going to now return to Kick more popular than ever, which is seems to be the opposite of what Kick was trying to achieve. So why cancel him to begin with?
Yeah. Well, and what I would have to say again to people who do see this, and maybe this is where, all of us have to be better. But when you see the engagement of the cancel culture, don't feed into it. Don't look into it too much. It's just because all we'll do is it'll suck you in, and it'll twist and deform you and your mindset and your perspective. Because cancel culture, you can't cancel anything forever. It does come back. And when you participate in it, just know this: if you're cheering for cancel culture, you yourself will also be canceled someday.
Yep, it is 100% true. I mean, hell, it's kind of happening to Ben Shapiro right now, man. It's a slow leak, but it's happening, bro.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Candace is now, or at least by YouTube's algorithm, is way more popular than Ben Shapiro since she left, and Ben is becoming less and less and less popular every single day. And we know Ben is one of those social justice warriors on the right who likes to pretend like he doesn't believe in cancel culture, but literally try to cancel Candace Owens because of her stance exclusively on Palestine. Like that was, if that's like their only disagreement, you would assume that somebody who hates cancel culture so much would just let it slide. And then, once we get through this, we'll just go back to the regularly scheduled programming. But that's not what happened. He doesn't believe in it.
He's not consistent. A lot of people, like, here's the thing. I believe in free speech. I believe in the First Amendment. And guess what, Niko? There were a lot of things that you and I could probably disagree or agree with. I'll just bring up this example. In 2020, right? I still had the blind hope for Bernie Sanders, right? And you were very critical of Bernie Sanders. But never once did I say, oh, Niko doesn't know what he's talking about, cancel him. No, I heard what you were saying. And guess what? At the end of the day, who was right? You were right. You called it out. And you were one of the very few people calling out Bernie Sanders and his hypocrisy. And it's something like, I
wouldn't even be an asshole about it. I wasn't even trying to cancel him. I was like, yo, y'all just want to look at him real quick.
And you know something? I grew from that because it's like, okay, what is he saying? And I was just generally just listening because I would listen to your show because I know you've listened to my show in the past. And I'm listening. Okay, here's what he's saying. Here's what he's saying. There's some maybe there's a bigger plan. I held out that idealism. And then as soon as Bernie uttered out the words, my good friend Joe, I'm like, oh,
My good friend
no.
Joe Biden.
No, you're not. That's not how you're supposed to do things. And then it's just like, what a horrible waste of time. But you grow and you learn from things. Just like was forced to vote. You know, when Jimmy Dore was talking about doing forced to vote, like I at first like, geez, you're gonna reach out to AOC and all these other people. Like, you'd really think they'll do it? And as soon as I've read more about forced to vote, oh, this seems like a good plan. This is a good plan. And guess what? I was convinced by forced to vote because it is an effective strategy.
No, it actually was a good plan.
Yeah. And Matt Gaetz, the Republican, just showed us that it can work. It's very well accepted. No Democrat could do that, but the Republican showed us that it could work. So the theory is factually correct. So it all works. And the thing is, you have to hear out other people, hear their points of view. And if it triggers you, have a cup of tea, listen again, and, just absorb and grow from it. Okay. You don't have to look at the other person as your enemy. There's bigger fish to fry than some random post on good old Twitter, or as I would call it.
I do gotta get up out of here. I'm sure you gotta get up out of here. You got another show too, man.
Actually, I do have another show.
Let everybody know where they can find you at, man.
So first of all, Hard Lens Media, we're live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Central on YouTube, Rumble, Rockfin, Odyssey, and Kick. But later today at 6 p.m. Central, I'm doing a online interview with none other than the wonderful Tara Reid, who will be joining me. So 6 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. So that's the correct time zone, the Chicago time, Chicago style pizza. It is the correct time, always the correct time. 6 p.m. I'm interviewing Tara Reid, and I actually got to set up that live stream so that way to boost up the audience. So everybody, seriously, if you're not following Niko House, please do so. Follow him on all over social media. He's one of the dauntless few. And I, for one, respect the work that you've done. And I'm ever hopeful that one day you get to visit a city again, like how you did the last time. We hung out at that bar. It was a great time. And Daniel sends his best to you. And there's a lot more that we want to tell you, but perhaps
we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
It'll be summertime if I visit, because I damn sure ain't coming in wintertime. Y'all know that ain't happening. So I appreciate you, man. Y'all make sure y'all go follow Kit and Hard Lens. He does amazing work. And send my best to Daniel as well. And for everybody else, thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream podcast before the people. And always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.